Welcome to Dialog Choices podcast, whether you like it or not. That's our new catchphrase.
You like it. You like it, though.
You love it.
like
You love it lately. People are clicking on
Isn't
these, apparently.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like much of a dialogue choice if you don't get a choice in it.
It's Mass Effect 3.
It's
fine.
most modern
It's
dialogue choices. They're actually just all the same option phrased differently.
Yeah.
Just like how we're accused of being the same opinion but with different voices, even though we argue.
Are we accused of that?
By
we're
stupid
not accused of
people.
that.
There's weird people
Okay,
who are like,
then,
this is
yeah.
Echo Box podcast or whatever the fuck, and I'm like,
Got him.
we argue all the time and don't agree
That's all
on
we do.
anything.
Yeah. Even about
Yeah, but
stupid
we're-
stuff like Moira.
But
and-
we're not. I don't think it's because we don't have like dangerously divergent opinions on things.
I mean,
if they're a Nazi, then
we don't.
yeah,
we
they
don't
would
have
probably
like
think-
terrifying people on our podcast, but like we don't
Yeah,
agree on
yeah, you know.
anything usually.
It's not.
For
not
example, I
divergent
still play
enough.
Overwatch on purpose and enjoy it.
Oh my god.
Which is
I
at this
don't.
point is unimaginable to
Never.
most of the people in our Discord.
I
It
do
sounds
that.
like
No.
sounds like self-harm.
You say that
Just-
like I haven't been playing this nightmare game for the past 5 years. It's not like
That's
I
what
didn't
I'm
give
saying.
it a
Is like
shot.
you and Toaster both uninstalled it, and Bird, I think, still has it installed but doesn't want to or something.
Resists the temptation.
Well, he
Whereas-
usually goes until the ranked system doesn't appeal to him anymore. Like until he gets to a point where
Yep.
the ranking isn't climbable without investing way too much time with little gain. Like I don't know, being the top 500 of Overwatch only means so much if that's what you want to like do forever. Like
Yeah.
Most-
ideally,
Yeah.
most people are like,
Bird
I
is
got
not-
the plat, I'm good.
I've noticed
Bird's
that
not top 500 though.
when people talk about ranked and stuff, it starts making me realize that people just play video games, including online multiplayer versus games, for like wildly divergent reasons than I do, and just process the concept differently. Like one of the weirdest things I've ever heard is someone saying that playing Overwatch ranked isn't rewarding enough. Like
Mhm.
you're supposed to be rewarded in some way for playing it, like
Emotionally, yeah.
currencies or something, and I'm like, no,
Oh,
I'm playing ranked
Oh,
to
I
have
see.
more fair and interesting matches than unranked,
Then
which
in
is
quick play.
a shit show. Like there's
Yeah.
essentially like there's the casual mode where I can play around with characters I'm worse at and try to hedge up different angles, and then there's ranked where it's time to try hard a bit, and hopefully the matchmaking successfully creates a match that can facilitate like a good round of Overwatch, which is admittedly a struggle because how do you numerically quantify that? But the idea that you're supposed to get
Yeah.
something out of the matches besides the matches is like completely alien to me as somebody who like didn't even open their loot boxes for the entirety of Overwatch 1 and doesn't care about anything coming out of the matches besides getting the matches. Like that's the goal, is to play the game. And I'm
I
like,
mean, the Overwatch 2 specifically is a dearth of rewards, though. Like they basically
is true.
got together and thought, how can we make it as stagnant as possible for the player when they play? Like, there's no reason why they do it like that. They do, but they
I mean, I
don't
grew up
tell
on
you the
games
rank
that didn't
update.
have rewards like that. My entire
Yeah.
like I originally got hooked to playing online video games in Dead or Alive 4 and Halo 2, and the more you play those games, nothing, period. It stays exactly the same as when you started playing the game.
But
Halo
yeah,
2
but
has
the-
0 unlocks besides unlocking campaign missions by beating the previous one. And you unlocked Dead or Alive costumes by
unlocks.
beating the story mode as that character over and over and over again to get the next costume until they ran out, which could be 3 costumes or 8 costumes because they were not evenly distributed between characters. And
Yeah.
you could not unlock costumes via competitive or even online casual or anything. You couldn't even unlock system voice. System voice was unlocked in training mode. Like you couldn't unlock anything. There was 0 incentive
It's all single player?
outside of
That's
the
interesting.
gameplay to play online, which was like, for me, that's like what playing online's for, is it's to play the game online. It's like the idea that you're supposed to get other stuff and that's your incentive is like, if anything, a lot of that stuff feels like a corruption to me. It's like this, like when games are like, better play X number of matches this week to get the timed exclusive thingamajig or you're gonna miss out. It's like they're all like they're all like external motivations to play a game other than the fact that you like the game. And engaging with those systems, I think, not only makes you play games you don't like playing more than you would, but it also like starts to corrupt the like thought process behind you playing the game. Like you're thinking about whether or not
Yeah.
meters are getting filled correctly instead of like your personal journey of like understanding the characters and matchups and like playing the video game.
But Overwatch 1 was very rewarding, though. That's the thing. Like, people are used or were used to the first to how the game used to work, and now, when they talk, it's the contrast. That's the thing. Like, I agree with you. I mean, I grew up playing Counter-Strike 1.3, I think, then 1.6, and Unreal Tournament 98 and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Those games have zero
I just see
progression system whatsoever.
the system as like a lose-lose. Because like on the developer side, famously, like in order to make the battle pass for Fortnite and so on, like unbelievable amounts of crunch were happening to just spew these infinite assets into the game that mostly don't affect the game, but are just there to always have another unlock, because you gain a level like every fucking 2 minutes in that game when you're playing it. You just keep leveling and you're always unlocking something. It's another spray, another umbrella, another skateboard, another furry, and like
what?
and
Those things exist.
yeah,
in Fortnite.
yeah. I mean, like you have the
umbrellas.
well, yeah, you got your vehicle.
Yeah, you have the
thingies.
parachute. Yeah, whatever the thing. Your parachute.
You've got a
back down to
variety
the
of
ground.
vehicle thingies that you do in the air, and then you have gun skins, and there's just so many and like so half of the thing is like, okay, how do we hook in even more things that we can try to make be unlockables, which is how you end up with like Overwatch's completely baffling trophies or whatever they're called. Like they have weapon charms, which are a thing that attaches to your weapon and you see during gameplay technically. But there's an entire category of items that's called souvenirs, where it's just a 3D model your character holds up if you want to. And I've never seen someone do it on purpose in any match, but a significant chunk of every battle pass is just more stupid models for people to hold up as souvenirs. And somebody has to keep making those. Like that's all labor. And so it's this infinite treadmill of disposable content that is then seen as like FOMO stuff that is incentive for people to play and want to earn before it goes away. I think that both makes things worse for the player and the developer at the same time. Like I'm sad that that's become the core incentive for playing all of these games at this point.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
my biggest problem is actually related to the way we've talked about the way the ranking system works before, but like the general pervasive understanding that when you play a game, like even F1 has ranked system now, which is just baffling. Because what do you mean rank? I'm this fast on this track. That's racing games are specifically different from shooters, but like the whole. If you're good at shooters, you start playing Overwatch and then you climb the ranks. I think that's a bad game design, and it leads to what we saw. We don't see that anymore, by the way, in rank. I'm still around gold in most of my not in tank, but in DPS and sport. And I have noticed an increase, like a steep drop in the quality of my teammates. Not that they're trolling or anything, but that they're just, the better players are moving upwards. I'm talking in competitive. So what happened in Overwatch specifically was at the beginning, like there were a lot of people climbing, and that's bad. Yeah. You shouldn't be matched with good people if you're not good, and vice versa. And especially in a game where it's team play, because you're like, if you're a Mercy and you're pocketing a Pharah and the Pharah doesn't land anything, like what are you, like, you suck as a Mercy. You shouldn't be playing a Mercy. But that's like, you shouldn't be paired with a bad Pharah if you're a good Mercy, or it's just the whole. I think my biggest problem is actually the whole progression in the ranked system rather than the progression in the battle pass. And I think most people don't really care about the battle pass. We've seen Blizzard offer battle pass ranks in if you watch Twitch streamers playing Overwatch, I think it's now 8 hours. If you watch 8 hours of Twitch, you get 5 battle pass skips on some streamers. We've seen Blizzard make they used to offer at the last level of a battle pass the mythic skin of the month or the season, whoever it was for. And now they offer in this latest season, it starts at level 40 instead of level 80. So it's like halfway through the battle pass, you're getting the mythic skin, because I think what they're seeing is that people are just not, they don't care about the battle pass.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
Battle
see
Pass
a
sales, I
lot of
believe, have
people.
technically been down.
I see a lot of people
they
in the
reported about it.
new skins every season.
Oh yeah,
Sure, you have a substantial amount of what are like, I don't know, middle class whales, people willing to like drop $20 for a battle pass every season, but they're not willing
manatee,
to, like,
if you will.
a manatee. There you go. Yeah, there are manatees in the environment that are willing to buy a battle pass still, because it's not as ridiculous to think about as like a loot box, which is something you would be buying like a huge chunk of, right? You'd have to buy like 100 loot boxes to get every single skin. Whereas now it's like someone's like, well, I can justify $20 for a battle pass if it's the only one I get and I do it every month or whatever.
or
But
$10, or I think it's $10.
yeah, or it's $10, whatever. But the thing is that's why I'm more shocked when I see people with the skins, like the paid skins. Those ones are what
Lifeguard Mercy.
Yeah,
But don't forget though that Activision Blizzard is the company that has the patent for affecting matchmaking based on the skins that players have, so that they can use players with the new skins or the skins they want to sell to basically serve as billboards and advertisements. To
they can weaponize it against players who don't have them.
So it's very normal if you don't have any skins,
totally
which
fine.
You just get all of your teammates, just all the spenders are with you.
That's fine, because one, a normal person with a healthy mindset to anything, especially consumerism, would understand that it doesn't fucking matter. Skins don't make you better.
How are they
playing the game.
matchmaking you based on skins if everyone's still matchmaking?
So they have a patent that's basically for changing the priority of who gets matched with you based on the potential for them serving as a billboard.
So like they matchmake people that have skins you don't have to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you have skins, you're gonna be the billboard.
I was gonna say, like, they can't just be matchmaking people with skins, because like everyone else is still there. So I was like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I noticed
it just changes
that
the priority.
I think I noticed that noticed the past that while I was playing Lucio in season 2, that's the season that I played the most, and I made an experiment, removed all my skins, and just saw normal players and all that. And the moment I re-added the skins, and I have a lot of skins from the first Overwatch, the moment I re-added the skins, I think I saw an increase in players without like any even like sprays or anything, like just basic default skins. Yeah, I don't.
You think it hooks into what you're wearing and not just what you own?
Well,
yeah,
it might. Yeah. It might. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to, because they have access to that info.
I'm saying, like, if you figured it would. Well, because you're saying you like changed your skins or whatever and tried to do that for data, but I'm like, wouldn't it just be based on what you own? Why would it care what you were currently equipping?
Well, it cares what you're currently equipping, because if the idea is whether or not
for you being used as the billboard.
Yes, exactly.
I try not to notice skins for the most part, because they just don't really matter. I don't really pay. I don't like actively track it, but I just like, because Reinhardt's so fucking big, I just immediately notice every single time a new Reinhardt skin comes out that I'm like, there's a lot of them around here. Suddenly everyone's cardboard now, everyone's demon now, everyone's the Minotaur now.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with skins that bothers me, especially in games like this, is just that so many of them are like, this is gonna go so counter to what a lot of people like, but a lot of people love that, like, grilling dad soldier 76 skin, haha, it's funny, or like lifeguard Mercy, get it, because she's a lifeguard. I fucking hate skins like that. I want cool, like, lore appropriate, interesting alternate outfits that like are more expressive than just like, it's a joke, see, look, it's a hamster ball, but he's wearing a rave outfit. Like, I hate that shit. That's why I don't buy many of the skins, because I think they're all stupid looking.
No, you'll see me wearing a lot of stuff like I almost never wear funny skins. If I wear something that's a bit of a divergence, it's more like, it's Sombra's scuba skin, like the one where she's in a wetsuit, which just implies that she just started Metal Gear Solid 2 and she's a spy character, so it fits. Like there a lot of the skins like they're super wacky. Like I'm like, oh damn it, like for like I like almost none of the Mei skins, and then she got this like. This one where she works as she works at like a diner or something. I'm like, that's actually a decent looking skin, but it's stupid. Like it looks stupid in context. Like I don't want to be Lego Bastion or Cardboard Reinhardt, even if I admit that they're like amusing, like designs or whatever.
The crab hammer or
hamster. But I will pick the furry skins, and you can't stop me.
I will usually pick anything with a tail or braids. But I will not play silly skins on purpose.
Yeah,
I have like I think on Soldier in particular, I used just the green reskin from Overwatch 1 because I think it looks cool.
I used his army fatigues when I played because I thought.
But I have one where the army fatigues. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I have like a
commando.
I have like other skins, but I just don't play them because they are silly. No,
I'm complete opposite.
Not that it matters because I don't see my skin.
I refuse to engage with skins that aren't silly. Like if you don't,
you're specifically there to troll.
Yeah. Like if you're just gonna give me like a recolor or like a slightly revamped version of a regular skin, I don't care. I'll just keep the default. What the fuck does it matter? Like
because it's purple. I have a purple hamster. It's nice.
I mean, I don't care about the colors so much. I just want
looks really cool. It looks really.
I just want like other cool outfits. Like I just because I honestly think, especially in Overwatch 2, a lot of the default outfits are a step down from how good the cast looked in Overwatch 1. So like it just sucks. Like the default skins in that game are so hideous and over designed. Yeah. Oh, they're so bad. I hate all of them. With the exception of Symmetra, who is better in Overwatch 2 than she is in Overwatch 1, in terms of how she looks. But I do not like any of the redesigns. I think they're all terrible. One of the things I wanted to just circle back on was just like the idea of like ranked and like why people play it and stuff. And I think all of that's true. I think my perspective on ranked is that like I use it as a learning tool. And like ideally when I do ranked matches in fighting games, I think of it as a test, right? It's like I am sitting down to take a test after I have done all of my classwork and all of my homework. It is now my time to throw myself into the fire, see what I've learned, see what I need to learn, see where I need to improve. And like in a good ranked system, it starts off by you self-selecting what you think you want to test into. So like the way Street Fighter 6 does it is it's like, hey, do you think you're intermediate? Do you think you're a novice? Like what was your rank in Street Fighter 5? Did you ever play Street Fighter 5? Did you ever play any fighting games? Like all of that stuff's really helpful because it gives you a bracket with which you try to test into, and then it places you within, if you said you're intermediate, you can go from like silver to platinum. If you say that you're like advanced, your bracket starts at diamond and you're immediately matched against diamond players. And if you beat all of them, you get put into diamond 5, like things like that. And so you sort of self-select where you start and what your experience is going to be. And obviously, if people think they're better than they are, they're going to say, put me in diamond. And then they're going to lose all their matches, get put in Diamond 1, lose all their matches again, and get deranked to gold. And like, you know what I mean? Or deranked to platinum, and then get deranked to gold, and then to get deranked or whatever, however long it goes. So it becomes this experience of like truly being placed where you are relative to other people. And I think a lot of people will get hard stuck in that mindset, and they'll think that it's not very rewarding because they're like, I want to keep seeing the numbers go up, like skill-based. Like people notoriously hate skill-based matchmaking for whatever reason. Yeah, they feel insulted by it. They don't like having to put in work to win. They don't like being matched against people that they are good.
I don't think I'm a bronze, so I shouldn't be a bronze. Like,
exactly.
Yes, absolutely. People totally just want to be rewarded for playing at all and be told that they're making progress all the time, and that's why they like Diablo.
Yeah.
You can play Cookie Clicker. It's free. Just download it.
Yeah, but they want to play something that says you're good at video games and then be told that they're good at video games.
Yeah.
It's
So
why
find a
it's why
significant
people
other.
it's why people get
easy.
really hooked to stuff like Dark Souls that isn't especially brutally challenging but gets a reputation for being that, but then immediately fuck off the moment like they're told to do like, oh, here's a hardcore survival thing, like the real grind is pathologic, give it a shot, and they're like, no, I'm scared, I'm not
Yeah.
being rewarded every 2 seconds.
Yeah. And like with my experience, like it's really hard to climb when you actually have to learn things, but that is in and of itself like the most rewarding process ever. Like I can feel, we've talked about how Overwatch, because it's a team-based game, your progression is not very linear. It's like very all over the place, because like you can have a good day with a good team and like they can cover your weaknesses really well, and like you might not even notice what your weaknesses are because your team is covering them so well.
Yeah, I
And
don't
like,
have
you know, like
weaknesses.
things like that.
Yeah.
Or you can have a day where you carry super hard and like your strengths fill in for your team's weaknesses, so you're just frustrated even though you're winning and you don't know if you've gotten any better, but like you're surviving just off of like your aim or whatever. When I play fighting games, I have hit plateaus. I have plateaued hard in games like Street Fighter and Guilty Gear. In Guilty Gear, it took me 140 hours, I think, to hit Celestial for the first time. Like I was not good at that game. I put a lot of time in before I even started to get interesting matches like in the rank system. And that was
Interesting as in
before
challenging, or as in like what worth your time?
worth my time. Like matches where
Oh,
I
that
felt
sucks.
like I was like actually learning things and stuff,
Mhm.
because in your early ranks, when you're scrambling and when they're scrambling, you can like do something, you know, like I would just like go to the highest ranked floor I could go to. The way, this is complicated, the way that Guilty Gear works, you can access any floor above you. I would just play on floor 10 even though I was like a floor 6 player, and I would get screwed over because I was like, why, this is hard, why aren't I learning? It took me a long time to learn the process of learning one of these games. But the point I'm making is like in Overwatch, you're all over the place. It's really hard to tell what you're doing. But in a good ranked system in like a fighting game, you are placed where you belong. You fight people who are where
Yeah.
they belong. And then all of your wins, your skill progression is extremely linear. And you might hit a plateau and get stuck and have difficulty, but the way you surpass that is always going to just be learn the thing that you're bad at, get the matchup experience, add that to your repertoire, and then you just start shooting up the ranks again. And it's a very, very good experience because, like, yeah, a plateau sucks, and it sucks to feel like you're like hard stuck floor 8. But in Strive, for example, my solution to that was like I watched my replays, saw that I wasn't anti-airing, got really good at anti-airing, immediately made it to Celestial. Like it's not like it's so prescriptive. It is so directly like, oh, here is the flaw in my game plan. I need to do this better. Oh, now that I am doing it better, I'm getting rewarded again. And the same thing goes for Street Fighter. I was really hard stuck plat 3 for about 7 hours on stream a few weeks ago. And like I lost almost a full rank worth of LP, like the ELO system in the game. I lost almost a full rank of it because I was just losing. I was on like a 20 win lose streak. And I have it all recorded, which is extra painful. And it was like causing me psychic damage. Like I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Oh, no.
So I went and I looked at my gameplay and I noticed a pattern. It was, oh, every single time I try to approach with crouching medium slide, I am getting punished for it because I'm not spaced correctly. Oh, people are jumping in on me and getting a lot of hits on me and starting their really strong combos on me from jump ins because I'm not reliably anti-airing and I'm not punishing those anti-airs safely. So you know what I did? I went to training mode for 35 minutes. I trained anti-airs and anti-air confirms so they could get damage off of them to incentivize myself to anti-air more. And then I just practiced spacing my crouching medium kick. And when I just re-internalized and relearned how far I needed to be away to use it safely, I'm now plat 4. I broke my losing streak by just looking and fixing the issue. So like, I think good ranked systems can really help promote a very linear power curve and skill curve up until, you know, super high rank, when you're like learning the true nuances of a game, where it gets much more nebulous, you know, and much more player oriented. But the actual learning process in games with good skill-based matchmaking and like ranked tiering and stuff is just so sublime. I love it so much. And in a way, that is the reward. Like, I get really excited about playing ranked, and I like want to play ranked because like I want to see myself take that next step up, and I want to see myself get better. And this is the way that I can test myself to do that. In a game like Overwatch, I do not feel that way, because I'm just like, what the fuck do the ranks mean? My 2 matches in gold look completely like different video games. Yeah. And like, I can't tell what the difference is. Is it just the team comp? Is it the matchups? Is it me? Is it my team? What should I be working on right now? I did the same strategy this game versus last game.
Overwatch is one of the most complex video games I've ever played, while also having zero cohesive, agreed upon definitions of how it's even meant to be played between players. So when you play a match and your teammates get mad at you or something, or that something goes poorly, you have 4 people in your game who disagree with you on how what the game even is, and what's going right or wrong, or what you're even supposed to be doing, and whether or not you're doing that well. You disagree with your own teammates, but like, you as a player cannot accurately judge your own strengths and weaknesses in the moment. And then if you're live streaming, you have another separate party that is the people in the live chat who also have their opinions, and they're also not trustworthy. Like, you'll have so many disparate pieces of data, like you're tabbing through all of the pre-mission tabs of fucking GoldenEye, and one of them in chat is Moneypenny, just useless. You're like, what the fuck am I supposed to even, what do I do about this? Was I in the wrong? Or was this a fundamental, like, did we lose this match because everybody in our match was super competent on a mechanical level, but none of us fundamentally agree on what we're even supposed to be playing, like what the goal of the game is? Was it a matchup of characters like, or that was bad for the map? Or like, should we be like, something that blew my mind is that when you play, like it's known for a fact that like there is the meta, like the publicly understood idea of which characters are good and which ones face off against each other, and which ones are powerful right now in this patch for matchmaking and so on. And then you watch like Owl or whatever, where there's like, this is like organized matches between people that like run drills on these characters and are extremely coherent as a team, and they're training their character, and they have battle plans, and they're essentially doing like football maneuvers and so on. Like, they have plans. Yeah. And these people play completely different characters than the meta does, despite the meta being presumed, like you would think, being some kind of like collective understanding of how good the characters are. But the moment that the social context for the game changes, the game changes, which is a wild thing to observe about how the game works. Like when I had my one day where I had the social courage to go join SVB's like scrims in his Discord, where his audience, like, they just do custom matches where they host manually set up matches where people self-report what their tier, what their rank is in matchmaking, and they make matches based on that. And if one side is too much of a landslide or whatever, they swap players that they think will even things out, and they try to create even matches that are higher quality. And even though I was playing with people that are supposed to be the same rank that I was in matchmaking, I immediately saw tactics that I had never seen before in Overwatch after playing for years. Like, this is where whenever I refer to it, that's my thing I talk about when we played in Volskaya, the Russian level in Overwatch 1 that's gone now. And like, on defense point 2, everyone was on the high ground, including the tank. When every single match I'd ever played on that map, people defend the choke. but they're the same rank as the people I'm playing with every day. That's what's so wild about it.
The problem with Overwatch, and I see that in my quick play, not in my competitive, at least not at the beginning of my competitive games, but in my quick play, I will play on the correct positions. And half the time, what am I saying? Half the time, the vast majority of the time, the team is not playing the correct position. So what happens is that they're either defending too close, and I am not getting enough value because the fight is happening elsewhere, or they're just dying before I can help them because they're all out of position and like SDP.
Which is its own wild thing, is like the ranks and public understanding of the game are so non-standard that you have to adapt your play style to in many cases play worse to play better.
To play
because if you stubbornly just refuse to adapt to what's happening in the match, then you're throwing, and you might even get reported, and you might even get suspended by the game for playing too correctly because you were functionally throwing by not meeting the game where it was essentially.
Yes.
It's like this constant thing of like having to like ignore the speed limit, but instead drive at the speed that the freeway's driving at, and so on. But in video games.
Go with the flow of traffic,
yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is like Overwatch is 100% a team-based game, and so it doesn't matter what is the meta. It doesn't matter what is right or wrong. All that matters is that you as a team cohesively do something. And even if what you're doing isn't the meta, even if what your team is doing is reckless, if you do it together, 9 times out of 10, you'll fucking win that fight, because the enemy team is generally not working as a team. And that's like the most wins in Overwatch until you get to like maybe Master, is like people just don't fucking play together as a team. And so you can just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're like everyone's on the high ground, because those people are probably on the high ground in response to playing a bunch of matches with people who are always on the high ground. So they've developed their own like bubble meta, and that only exists because they keep playing with very specific players, just as you'd never seen those tactics because you've played with very specific players. And
that's why
the players you've that's why Overwatch is difficult. That's the entire reason why Overwatch is a fucking nightmare, is because it plays differently depending on skill level, people you're playing with, type of characters you're playing with, map you're playing on. There's like hundreds of variables that determine how you're going to play a match, and all of them are never going to be explained to you or clear or understood or even communicated. It's a fucking mess. But what's really fun about it is everyone's got their own silly little weapons that make you feel really strong. And that's what's fun.
Or not, because Sombra exists. I was gonna say,
Sombra,
that's why
what do you mean Sombra used to just be able to laugh in your face as you tried doing something, and she just stopped you immediately from it? Like, oh, I see you're gonna ult or not. And so it's like, oh, I guess my ult's gone. Like, Sombra used to be really fun. They just fucked her up.
I think they are gonna fuck her up even more. They have a rework working. But I climbed out of bronze into silver and gold, actually, all the way through bronze 5 to silver, to gold 3, I think, using Sombra as my main, and then I dropped to silver and then started Ashe. But anyway, my point is with Sombra in particular, she's a character that at high level play, and the reason why she's used so often in scrims and in the Overwatch League is because she excels when you have communication in the team. She's really, really good. You see somebody out of position, you call it out. Hey, this person is going this way. They're by themselves. Let's dive. Let's kill them. Let's do this. But at lower ranks, that's so far removed from the reality of play that what she excels at is something very different, which is just, for example, something I do a lot in Sombra. I don't play her in rank anymore because I don't want to get better at her because they're gonna rework her. So I'm playing mostly Soldier and recently an Ashe in rank. But what I do in quick play a lot is I aggro both supports. I don't actually try to kill them a lot of the time because most supports are very difficult to kill unless they're like Zen or Mercy. But if you're up against an Ana and a Moira, for example, the moment the enemy team engages and you're behind their backlines, if you aggro both supports and just they're looking at you, they're trying to kill you, and you're using hard cover, because nobody uses hard cover. like the fight is effectively a 3v5 or sorry, a 3v4 without the enemy supports because they're trying to kill you. So it's like a Dead by Daylight kind of mentality where the longer you're being pursued by these two people, even if you die, the better it is for your team. So as long Sombra is very complicated because you can like if you're very good mechanically and in bronze, I think all of us here, if we play in bronze Sombra, we just are gods in terms because we're just so much better mechanically than most bronze players. But even silver, like most silver players suck at aim, and recently, honestly, gold. I've noticed my duels just they're getting easier and easier, but Sombra, like you can double the damage of the other DPS with Sombra. I did that a bunch of times just through mechanical competencies, not even expertise, because you pick the person that's most isolated, you kill them. You pick the tank that doesn't have support, you kill the tank, and she's very powerful, but she's powerful in a different way than what she is later on, and that's why I'm like I love the expression that you use, the pocket meta. No, wait, you have pocket meta.
It said bubble.
Bubble, that's the one, not pocket. I was thinking dimension pocket or something. Pocket dimension, that's what I'm thinking. A bubble meta is a great way of looking at it. But people just don't realize that. I still get. The other day I was playing Sombra in quick play. I had somebody in spectator trash talking me about you're playing Sombra, you shouldn't play Sombra. Obviously, I blocked them immediately. But I still get people complaining about playing Sombra, and I was just like I was dominating. I was absolutely. Like I was just playing for fun, and I was just winning the game.
Moment that just always stands out to me about it is that I was watching a high-level streamer, and he was watching a cheater video. Like, when you spectate cheaters that are reported, and you see them cheating and all that. But what he was baffled by, and I'm baffled by him being baffled by this, is he was baffled by the fact that the teams weren't forcing a draw. Like a cheater was identified in the match, and he was like, "Why aren't they forcing a draw? You always force a draw when there's a cheater." And I'm like, "How are silvers gonna force a draw? One, silvers don't.
They don't believe
mechanically.
Also,
know.
They don't believe it's a cheater. Like I have never seen people believe. Like in my own team, when I have cheaters on the other
end. Even if 100% of people understood that there was a cheater, which itself is hard to even identify half the time. Yeah. Without being able to physically watch them during the match, like especially with how often our group false identifies cheaters, no one can tell cheaters. No one can tell a cheater's around. When we were playing with our full stack, someone accused someone of being a cheater every 3 matches. It was absurd.
Yeah.
But
Bird accuses lots of people of being cheaters all the time.
Yeah, but silvers don't know how to make a draw. Like mechanically, the idea of a draw is not ever mechanically explained to you. So how would you even know how to cause a draw, which you have to cause completely differently in each mode, if it's even possible.
If it's even possible, yeah.
But I'm also even if everyone successfully identified that there was a cheater and you wanted to do the fucking honor system force a draw thing that grandmasters do.
Sometimes.
How? These 10 people are not in communication with each other.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about the whole time you're talking about Sombra. I'm like, these people aren't talk. There is literally not a universal way of communicating that everyone will even be in, because in low ranks, all communication, despite being a core element of how you can play the game better as a team, it's so unrewarding to use communication because of how hostile people are, that people just aren't in it. Like I'm not in I think, if I remember correctly, I'm not in
general chat.
Orange chat. I think Bird's not in team chat. He's only in orange chat or something. And most people are not in voice chat. I'm usually the only person in our team that's in voice chat. How would you ever organize a draw? How would you decide that? Level, it's the point where the advice that high level players give is so irrelevant because they literally don't understand the game that other people are experiencing.
100%.
It's literally a different 100%. Video game. My
problem is actually just people do not believe you when you say that there's a cheater. And the way I confirm a cheater, it depends on what I'm playing. But for example, with Lucio, the way I used to confirm is I just go right up in their face and see how long it takes for them to kill me. usually it's not the how long, but the how they kill me. So there's multiple types of cheats, but the one that's harder to detect is the one where the reticule locks into your body box and not in your head, or like it's not like locked to your movement. Because if it locks to your movement, it's very obvious that it's a cheater, and even then, people don't believe you. But the one that's harder to detect is the one that they just shoot at you and are accurate at long range, and you're thinking, okay, that guy's good. But if you do that very close to them and move around them and like on top of them and all that, it's very obvious that they're locked onto you, because the movement that is required for your mouse, for example, if you jump, as Lucio is very easy to tell, is you're jumping over people and they're still locked on you and they're locking over through looking over them. Like, that's so obvious that they're cheating. And that's what I do. Like at Sombra is also very easy. You just teleport right on top of them and see what they're doing. But like usually your teammates just don't believe you. And like I don't even care about the enemy team, because if your teammates don't believe you, I just fuck the enemy team. I don't care. And yeah, it's just. But you're right about the mechanics of drawing. It's just completely detached. And like that's why I see GM players and top 500 players give advice about climbing, and they say all you have to, like I've seen J3 for example just say all you have to do is take high ground, just take high ground, and you climb up to diamond. And that's not true. Like in quick play, people don't contest you. Like if you're in gold or silver in quick play, they don't contest it, they just let you stay there. Like I've played so many soldier games where I just stand on top of anything and shoot people. Nobody shoots at me throughout the entire game, and I just say, hey, you can shoot me if you know. Like even playing against divas, this happens often. They just don't contest me. But in competitive, they swap immediately to something that's easier for them to deal with. They go May to put walls. You know, they like so the tank. Competitive people are actually very reactive to this sort of like one trick kind of thing. Obviously, taking high ground you should take high ground 100% of the time. That's the baseline of playing well. But what you know, it's not the only thing. It's definitely like there's so much. I think I said this in Discord. I don't think I said this in our podcast. The best thing that you can do to climb in any shooter, in any team-based shooter, is to have a play style that is not affected by your teammates. And so the more you are affected by your teammates in your play style, or maybe in your psyche, maybe it's just you get tilted because your teammates are throwing, which is understandable. But yeah, like if you're a widow and you're just sniping from the back, it doesn't matter what your teammates are doing. It's it's just a numbers game. You're gonna figure it out. Sometimes your team is just gonna be really bad, but it doesn't matter to you so much as, for example, if you're a Lucio and like your Reinhardt doesn't push, for example. Like I've had so few games where I played as a Lucio and a Reinhardt knew what to do with my speed boost, and those few games are so easy. It's unbelievable how easy they are. But when they happen, it's just like glorious. It just destroys the entire team because speed boost is so powerful. Like I only remember one game where I had a Mei and a Reinhardt that both knew what they were doing with a Lucio. And it was like just absolute destruction. This is in competitive, it's not quick play, but just like it's so powerful. They know what they're doing. But obviously, you get up to diamond and stuff. I've played against diamonds, not as a diamond, but I've played against diamonds. They're gods. Like they feel like they know exactly what you're gonna do and just predict. And what happened to me is because of my play style. I don't know if it's probably my own limitations. I don't really care about not reaching higher ranks, but what I find me is when I play against higher ranked people is I just do less because I am not. I'm afraid. It's not that I'm afraid of dying; is I am limiting my deaths. So basically, the moment I start taking damage, I like act accordingly. So I have trouble getting myself into a position where I don't take damage in the first place, or I can trust my support to allow me to stay alive even while I'm taking damage. Just it's very difficult. That's actually, I think that's the hardest thing to do as you're climbing, is practicing being healed, because it just doesn't happen. You just never, like I once in quick play, I had an Anna. I was playing Junker Queen. This was in that season where Junker Queen was busted, and it was like that was a fun time. I was playing Junker Queen in quick play, and it was it doesn't matter the map, but basically I was just 40 to 0 deaths, which is not uncommon because my quick play is busted and most of my everybody's very below my skill level. No shade on them personally. It's just it's shade on Blizzard for matching me with them in the first place. But my Anna was carrying me so hard. She always had my line of sight. I need I turned a corner to do to do any melee damage. I knew that if I backed off a little bit into the corner in the line of sight, I knew my Anna was looking at me. And at the end of the game, as I often do when I notice the supports are good, I complimented her. That is godlike. And she was like, and she messaged me after the game and saying, "You're only silver," because I'm still silver in tank. I thought you were like masters or something, which is, I mean, it's just not correct. I didn't play like a masters, but the point is, that experience of having because I think she was masters or something high level. The point of that experience of having a higher tier support carrying you is so rare that you don't practice that as a tank in particular, but even as a DPS. I think even some DPSs benefit a lot. For example, Mei, for example. I've had the amount of times I had, because Mei can put herself in an ice block and she heals for 200 damage or for 200 health. The amount of times I've had people support, when I complain that I don't get healed, people say, "You're Mei." And I'm like, yeah, I use my ice block once, and then what happens after? I die because I'm so close. Or it depends on how you play Mei, because you can play her from far away. But so that's just people play the game in their own way, and support in particular affects the other classes in such a drastic way that it's very difficult to practice as you are climbing. So the moment I was being paired with higher level characters, or not characters, but opponents, I was just like lost. I know it's very obvious. It's very obvious that they're better than me.
I'm gonna be honest. It started to get extremely hard to follow where you were going or what your point was or what the topic was.
I forgot what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you started rambling so much about just the general experience of playing a lot of Overwatch in general and just griping about random things that for 20 minutes I'm like, I don't actually know what he's talking about. I don't know where he's going or what this is supposed to be in response to anymore. He's just kind of like the way I catch cheaters as Lucio, and then if somebody pockets me, but nobody pockets me as May, and it just kept going and going, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Sorry, I
He's
forgot
just
about the
saying
cheaters
Overwatch words for a long time.
No, we can let's recenter it on the cheater.
I wasn't even trying to get in the weeds on cheaters. I was just responding to the how massively people understand the game differently at different tiers. I was pointing out not the fact that cheaters exist, but that these high level players, I was watching this higher level player, why don't these people force a tie? And I'm like, why don't they what? That's never happened in any tier below Diamond. What the fuck? It's never happened in any tier below Masters. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't understand what this game is like for most players at all. That was the entire point. Not that cheaters exist.
No one does. That's the frustratingly funny thing about it all, is that you can go online and look for people to tell me what should I do in Overwatch. It's that person's wrong. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if Mr. fucking it doesn't even matter if Mr. Overwatch himself came out of the fucking room and was this is how you play Overwatch. It won't mean anything because Overwatch doesn't have a way to play. It is all responsive. It's 100% dynamic. So that's fair. The frustrating thing. How do you teach someone a game that doesn't have a preset way to play it? And it's just literally, here's cooldowns, here's what your objective is, have fun.
Yeah. This is literally this is actually a great comparison point because I have one brain cell. This is the reason why I play fighting games, because getting to gold in Overwatch was no shit probably the hardest thing I've ever done in a video game. And I have played some hard ass fucking video games before. So when people are like, "Oh, in order to rank up, you just need to take the high ground," that shit makes no fucking sense. But if I play Street Fighter and I tell you can get to silver by anti-airing reliably, you fucking anti-air reliably, you'll get to silver. That's just how it works.
This is part of why
and
I was like, once he started actually playing and started talking about it, I was like, Bert's gonna fucking love Street Fighter, isn't he? Because he's talking about Street Fighter the way he used to talk about Overwatch, except you can approach Street Fighter that way.
Yes,
For a while there, I kept having to like pump the brakes and like caution him and be like, okay, well, like especially because he was learning support, and in many cases I was the tank in those matches, and I'm like, nope, you can't. Please, I'm begging you, do not reduce the entirety of your character to that two rules you just made up, because I will suffer all night if you behave that way. And like every time, like sometimes Colonel will do this too, talking about Sombra or some other character. He'd reduce the entire, or at least he would talk about it as if like the trick to the character was to reduce it to just this one thing. And I'm like, that's not how any of Overwatch works for any character ever. You cannot reduce the game to simple rules at all. And on a regular basis, Bird would say stuff where I'm like, I wonder what his experience.
You can't make hard rules.
Exactly. He would say really hard rules, and then he would go on and be like, yeah, I played 12 hours of Overwatch today, and I'm losing my mind. I'm exclusively playing one character all day, every day, and my rank changed by 50 points or whatever the fuck. And he would constantly talk about the rank grind while playing the game, binging it on a scale that I have never binged Overwatch before, but also talking about it in incredibly simple terms as if he was finding the tricks. And every week he had a different trick of like he talked about like the trick to Kiriko is having this specific rhythm of like 2 kunai into a animation interrupt into 1 heal to 2 kunai or something like that. I'm like, that's like the kind of weird hyper specific thing that's so specific that there's no way it functionally works in the actual reality of how a match works, even if it's somehow mathematically like, oh, I found the perfect animation cancel or whatever that makes this technically the most efficient amount of stats you can get out of Kiriko or something. I'm like, you headshot enemies when the headshot is available, and you heal people when they need healing. There is not a MMO style rhythm to playing the character. Like, you have to react to the shooting game that's happening to you, not like DPS rotation on your WoW rogue. So when he talked about the game in such specific terms, he kept reducing it to that, and that seemed to always be his approach. I'm like, I was always terrified of what his rank experience must be like solo, because it's from an outside perspective, the way he talked about playing characters, it sounded like he was torturing himself. But the way but you literally can be like, I'm going to go play Street Fighter tonight. I'm just going to completely focus on my anti-air game. I'm just going to completely focus on being ready for that reaction every time that one thing happens, and that's going to be the thing I'm working on today. And that will affect your Street Fighter performance. Like,
and like, well, the thing with that too is, and the reason why I brought it up is because like we spent so long grinding Overwatch as a team, and like, yes, I think cumulatively we got better over that time, but I can't really tell you how much we got better. Like, yes, I made it to gold. Yeah, Bird, I think, made it to gold as well. But like this week, we picked up Street Fighter as a group last week. On the first day, Bird did not know how to jump or block. As of today, he is Iron 4 because I told him, here is how you play the game with your character. Before you worry about anything else, focus on spacing crouching medium kick, standing medium kick, and if you're cornered, use your DP. I gave him those 3 guidelines, and now he's beating people on this call in matches. That is, I think, the perfect example of like the differences in complexity and difficulty in a game like Overwatch, which is like this team game that has a million variables, that's really hard, and you need to have a really good mechanical skill in order to like succeed on 1,000 different fronts at once, just to gain like to go from bronze 5 to bronze 4. In Street Fighter, I told Bird to use literally 2 buttons. You could remove every button from his controller except medium punch and medium kick, and he would be as good as he is right now.
That's wild.
It's just like objectively a much simpler process to understand and get better at, as long as you put the time in. So like, That's what I mean. Is it's just like you need a fucking physics degree to play Overwatch, but I have one brain cell and I'm plat 4 in Street Fighter 6. Like it really is just what time you put in, you get back out, and that's what I like about that particular ranked system.
Yeah, and just one-on-one in general gives you like an insane level of power over your own journey
Yes.
and improvement because you just are the entire match.
Yes, you control the match. All of the mistakes are your mistakes, but all of your successes are also your successes, and it's very easy to see exactly where like you lost a match, right? Like I'm playing a game of Street Fighter, someone jumps in on me, they do it 3 times in a row. I look at my replay, and my replay is 2 minutes long. It's not a 40-minute long match, it's 2 minutes. And I get to see every single point where I was like punished for doing something stupid, and I can just immediately recalibrate and be like, all right, I was, for whatever reason, trying to link like standing jab into crouching medium punch. That doesn't work. Mathematically, it will never work. Need to train myself out of pushing that button in that combination, and then it's just done. And then I never do it again, and I'm better at the game for it.
I don't play fighting games
Mhm.
much or at all lately. I did grow up playing a certain amount of Mortal Kombat and Tekken,
Mhm.
but isn't it like, don't you need to be always on, not on edge, but like focused? Like it's not.
Yeah.
Is it not tiring if you're like playing the whole afternoon?
No, it's
I have a
exhausting. It's
yeah.
extremely tiring.
So
You
my
need to be
Yeah.
focused, yes. But that's the thing, is that like uh getting the ranks up from like low ranks to like I know how to play the game is a very linear process. Where
Mhm.
fighting games and getting better at fighting games gets hard is when you are playing against other people that know how to play the game, and the skill check in question stops just being knowledge checks and mechanics and becomes things like mental stack. And mental stack is really, really hard to get better at. In fact, most humans have a pretty hard set mental stack limit, and training it is really, really hard. So, what mental stack is like, obviously Street Fighter is, people will call it like turn-based chess, or sorry, not turn-based, active
Real
time
time.
chess, or yeah,
Oh.
real time, thank you. Or like rock paper scissors, but in real time. And basically what that means is, in Street Fighter, at any given moment, there are solutions to whatever problem is being put on screen. Your opponent is throwing fireballs sitting all the way across the screen. Okay, you jump over the fireball. They have an answer to that. They shoryuken you, right? That's how the game plans get set up. So you have to figure out, okay, if my opponent is going to do X, I must do Y, and then you get a second layer of that. You go, okay, but if I do Y, they'll do Z, so I need to do A. And it gets more and more complicated as it goes on. So at any given point in a match at high level, you're going to be looking for like 7 or 8 interactions, right? I'm paying attention to see if my opponent is trying to poke me, trying to pay attention to which poke they're using, because if they use one or the other, I'm going to counter that a different way. I'm looking to see how they're dashing, because if they try to dash up and throw me, I need to be able to throw break. If they jump, I need to be able to anti-air their jump in. If I jump, I need to make sure that I'm spaced for a cross up, and I need to look at which anti-airs they're using so I know which moves I can use that might beat those anti-airs. I need to look at their meter to make sure that they don't super. I need to look at their drive gauge to see if it'll put them in burnout or not, or what resources that they have that they can use to like reposition. That's the mental stack. That's like the 7 things I'm like thinking about, right? But what if they start doing a different strategy? Like in the middle of me looking for those 7 things, suddenly they're not throwing fireballs anymore. They're, doing their super dash to get over to me to then command throw me, which I can't throw break. Okay, now I need to look out for the command throw. The thing is that human intelligence, and I mean that like in terms of like our literal brains, it's not as simple as just looking for that thing anymore. Our brains cannot handle that many simultaneous inputs. So the difficult part of getting better at fighting games at high level is knowing what to prioritize in your mental stack and what not to prioritize. So in all of those 7 options I previously was thinking about, what is the lowest risk option I can now ignore to add another thing on the top of the mental stack to look out for that is more dangerous than what other option? That is risk reward. And that's the core difficulty of fighting games. But the cool part about fighting games is you don't get to that point of needing to worry about this really until you're high enough level that you understand every building block that goes into the mental stack. So what I've been doing to teach Bird how to play the game with is basically I'm building his mental stack from the top. All right, I'm saying, all right, the first thing you need to pay attention to is neutral and footsies. You need to be able to crouching medium kick your opponent when they're like 2 character lengths away. You need to standing medium kick your opponent when they're 1 character length away. If you get really good at that, you'll win a bunch of matches in Iron. And then he did. Like, he went from rookie 1 all the way to Iron 4 or whatever, basically just doing that. But then he's like, okay, well, my opponent got me in the corner. What do I do now? All right, well, if you're in the corner, you need to look out for throws. You need to look out for drive impact, and you need to look out for pressure. How do you deal with that? You dragon punch. You get out of it. You have an invincible reversal. There you go. Now you have to look out for that situation when you're in a corner. Next thing, he's like, all right, well, my opponents keep jumping in on me, and I keep missing my attack to deal with it. What do I do? Well, here's your anti-air. Now, every single time your opponent jumps, on top of those other 4 things, pay attention to that. And that is like the structure of getting better at a game that is like really easy to understand and like builds a very, very strong foundation of fundamentals. And that's what people mean when they say like fighting games require good fundamentals. That's what they're talking about, is like the process of building your mental stack so you can actually start playing the game at a high level, which is the process of like figuring out how to risk reward and RPS your mental stack into a really safe game plan. And so, yeah, like I just think it's such an easily understood and like simple set of tasks that help you really build your skill in a way that a lot of these more complicated team games that people play on a daily basis really offer. Because like stuff like fucking people talk to me all the time and they're like, Toaster, I don't know how you play fighting games. It's so hard to get started. It's crazy. I don't understand. You have to be a rocket scientist to play this. And I'm like, bitch, you play Rocket League. How the fuck do you hit a soccer ball with a car and make it go into a goal? I could not even begin to calculate the insane amount of shit you need to pay attention to in this game. I played Rocket League once and I don't think I ever hit the ball with my car. Like, I could not pilot it. I do not understand. So when people tell me fighting games are so hard, they're impossible to play, you need to be a superhuman to do it, I'm like, why are you saying this when it's literally, like, you can learn from the bottom up, like, building with Legos. It's a mindset. It's an approach problem, I think.
Well,
and I think that a lot of people,
I think it's an onboarding problem. Like, you're talking about that it's mechanically simpler to play a fighting game, which is almost certainly the case because it's 2 characters on a 2-dimensional plane and nothing else is happening. But it's more rewarding to play other games badly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have had fun streaming Rocket League and have never been effective at all at the game. Like, it is inherently an amusing game because you're little rocket cars that do backflips and jump at balls and try to knock them into a big stupid goal. And it's basically farcical how every action you take does not work in that game. Like, every time I try to hit a ball a certain way, it almost never accomplishes what I mean for it to do. But it's this funny shit show. And you do get to zoom around as a car that feels fast and does like camera tricks to sell the speed feeling the way that racing games do, and like make that rewarding in its own way. And like in Smash Brothers, when you do hit a lucky hit on a high health character you probably didn't even put the work in to do the damage to, and they explode off the screen, there's a lot of like direct feedback that makes it feel good and all that. And then like Overwatch has a lot of stuff put into trying to make the match feel rewarding and trying to tell you that in some way, you, like especially Overwatch 1 with the medal system and shit, always tried to tell you were the best at something every match, and gave you something that was like happening, and you're part of a bigger experience that obscures your personal failures a bit.
Yeah.
And even going between different fighting games, like I definitely see the onboarding problem with Street Fighter, because like I've given it a go, and like even comparing it to other fighting games, like Dead or Alive has a flashy, fun like flow to it that makes the shittier earlier experience a bit more like, oh, look at that thing I did. Whereas like Street Fighter, you can't really string anything together on accident. It takes a lot of work to do pretty much anything. And there's like, I've noticed like there's really granular specific stuff I've noticed where like the game has no forward momentum usually. Like when you're attacking, most attacks knock the enemy away and you do not follow them, which is unusual for any combo-based video game, be they character action games or even other fighting games that I've personally played. You tend to chase by attacking, and even if they are getting pushed back, so you can do follow-ups and continue. So the act of trying to do anything cool besides this, I guess the super essentially, is incredibly hard to intuit and figure out what to do. You're very stiff and it feels like you can't do much. And the moment somebody starts hitting you, it feels like it's impossible to respond. And there's no intuitive way to figure out how to respond. You just become a punching bag until they run out of combos and you fall over. And then maybe when you get up, if they don't instantly grab you or something, you might be able to jump away and kind of flail. And then maybe if you get some space, you can try to go back to doing what new players do, which is basically try to treat the enemy like a training dummy and do a combo on them, because like you don't know what else to do because you don't know how the game works. So it's like, even if the game is technically simpler than almost any other genre, like there's no level design in Street Fighter. Like that's how simple it is. It's like a JRPG of competitive games. But like it's so punishing and such a knowledge check to even begin playing that it's like it can be actively unfun to try. And I think that's what people are actually talking about, even though they say something that technically means something else, is that like it's so punishing to try to find the fun in these games when you're competing against someone else that will just pummel you. That it's like it's like I was talking about, like I asked chat, I was like, okay, I think like you said that Blanca maintains his charge if you hold down back, even if you get hit, or even if you're blocking and you get hit while blocking. And then I was told that the way to escape certain combos or whatever is to do the charge counter to get out of it. So that means you need to have charge from holding back, and the act of holding back is what charges the thing, and that's how you do the attack. And so like you have to be able to respond. And then I was telling chat, like I think Toaster was wrong because he doesn't really play Blanca. Like maybe he just doesn't know how this works, because I'm pretty sure you do lose charge if you get hit when you're blocking, because this attack absolutely never works. And chat was like, no, yeah, you were just in the block stun, and if you try to input during the block stun, then it just doesn't work, which means you lose your charge from trying to execute it, but also the game won't let you execute it at all, and there's no indication that your buttons did anything at all, but you lost the charge, which itself is an invisible mechanic. There's not like a charge visual on your character. There's no meter or like aura that indicates the charge being gained or lost. So all you know in practice is that your character just isn't doing anything. Like your buttons are doing nothing and you're dying. And then you go into training mode and you're like, even with the meter on the screen, because like what quickly becomes apparent in Street Fighter is that in order to counter or in order to combo or do anything after anything else correctly ever, you have to get the frame data of exactly when to hit the input to make the next thing happen, because it doesn't have any kind of like, I don't know what terminology is, but like input batching or buffering or whatever, the way that like, oh, I pressed that button a while ago and now the attack came out in Elden Ring or whatever. Like people are used to the idea that they can do an input and the character will kind of do it when they can, unless they literally get like knocked down or something. But in Street Fighter, if you do any input slightly before or after the exact like couple of frames where the input's valid, nothing happens. and then you don't
Yes.
know why nothing happened because the game doesn't tell you why nothing happened. So you have to go in training mode and watch this little meter over your head and keep doing it over and over again. And I have definitely sat there and tried to do one input for 10 minutes straight while a meter is telling me the correct timing, and I still can't do it. And it's like, technically this is simple, but it's incredibly brutal to onboard the experience of trying to just do inputs as a character and behave. And like, what I'm struggling with Street Fighter is I'm trying to like I'm like rotating through like control styles and controllers and characters, just kind of trying to find the fun, because I it's very hard to get the game to be enjoyable for, like, just to fuck around with, let alone then be like, oh, now I'm gonna take it seriously and get good at it. And that's like that is a pretty big difference from a lot of genres where the fun is pretty immediately there when you're like, oh, I ran around as soldier, sprint makes me run, I got a little self heal, and you're shooting people, and when it headshots it goes a little ding, it's a high pitched noise that means like I did something even better now, and then every few minutes I get an ult and I go, oh, firing main cannon. Like it's a very different gameplay experience.
Yes, it is. And I think my thing with this is in a game like Overwatch, like, yes, I think it gets to just the fact that like people aren't very good at talking about things, especially things that they think are fun and things they think are not fun. And that's just like, people have fun playing Overwatch when they're doing bad. Yeah. And it's relatable to them because they have experience playing shooters and stuff. And all of these concepts are not new to them, and it feels good to hit a cooldown that looks cool. But then, like, when people play fighting games, and this is my fixation on this and why I get so heated about this topic, is that people will then play a fighting game and say, this is impossible, this is how this works, it sucks, you need to spend 47 hours in training mode to do anything, it's so impossible to play, you need to have a rocket science degree. And then they just like fuck off and never touch it again. And then that becomes how people view these games, when like it is not actually the truth. And like, even though people say shit about Overwatch, like people will be in chat and they'll be like, oh, when you play Moira, you need to actually do a 360 wall bounce from her orb in order to get exactly, you have to get exactly 360 DPS in order to kill. Like, people will say shit about video games is just wrong and doesn't make sense, but it doesn't affect some of those games because people are still gonna just pick up Overwatch and be like, haha, shooty bang bang, fun, haha, I pressed a cooldown. But it hurts fighting games and it hurts the community. Fighting games are not huge main scale games. Street Fighter 6 sold 2 million units, and that was huge. That is like one of the best selling video games, fighting games of all time. That is insane. That is a small number of people.
Sounds like a skill issue.
And when people like do this, they'll look online and they see Scrublord 9000 posting on Reddit like, this game is infested with cheaters. People always attack me the second I jump. I don't understand how everyone has all these combos. You need to be a sweaty no-lifer in order to do anything. And then like, that's what like I tell people, yeah, I play Street Fighter. And they're like, oh man, I could never, you need to invest so much time in that. That's crazy. Like, you must no life this game. And I'm like, I play once a week. I play Street Fighter once a week on stream. There is a record of my first match in Street Fighter 6 and my most recent match. You can literally watch my entire process of getting good at this game. And when I started Street Fighter 6, I did not know how to play Street Fighter 6. I do not play footsie-based, neutral-ass fighting games. I play anime fighters like Strive, where, sure, I can play footsies if I want to, or I can just jump and air dash and immediately do a crazy 17-hit combo intuitively just by pushing the buttons in the order that they're laid out on my controller. Like, people have this perception that you must inherently be good at these things in order to get better at them. And yeah, I have tons of fighting game experience. I've been playing fighting games for 20 years. Of course, my experience is going to be better than Bird, who didn't know how to block or jump prior to starting. But, and this is sort of the seal to this whole metaphor, oftentimes I think when people go to play fighting games, they go, why can't I it's like sitting down at a chessboard and being like, what do you mean it's not like checkers? And it's like, yeah, because it's
I love
chess.
that.
It's
Yeah.
chess. You have to play chess in order to play the fighting game. They're like, well, why can't my knight just like go diagonal over here? I'm gonna try doing that in this turn, and then it's like, it doesn't work like that. The knight moves in like a little L shape. It's like a 7. You like move it in the shape of a 7, and then they're like, this is impossible. This is so you're beating me. This sucks. And it's like chess has been played for 3,000 years. Like people like this game. The fun is there. You just have to learn how to play it. And like, yes, it is hard to get into because there are not always great resources in the games that teach you concepts like building a mental stack or getting a foundation. But also,
Wait,
like,
chess is a mental stack as well?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
chess
of
is all
course.
about figuring out like how
Oh,
many
it's the same-
moves
yeah, 'cause it's the
ahead
same
your opponent
principle.
is. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Colonel's. I'm explaining fighting games to Colonel, and he understands it now. This is exciting.
Yeah, I get it. Narrator
like, yeah.
doesn't get anything.
next you'll bring him in.
But like that's what I'm saying is that like yes, so when people say like fighting games are hard, brother, I believe you. I've been playing fighting games for 20 years. I am bad at them, and I think that they're the hardest games I've ever played in my life at a high level. Because they're really taxing and there aren't simple solutions when you're playing in a tournament and there's like a million different things to balance. That's all true. That's what makes them fun. But the thing is that the perception of them comes from approaching them, I think. And I don't think that people are doing it on purpose, but I think that it is something that happens. People approach fighting games in profoundly bad faith. People will jump into them and be like, why can't I do this? Why isn't it like this?
The
This
bad
is
faith,
bad. It
yeah.
must be bad. This is frustrating. There's no way to learn. And I'll be like, all right, well, like, here's how you learn. Just focus on like these 2 buttons. And they'll be like, this sucks. This isn't fun. I'm losing. I don't understand this game sucks.
I don't like country or rap of video games.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, well,
How?
and
does
I
that
think
even
that
make
that's
sense?
true.
It makes
I
perfect
think
sense.
it's
You're just in this picture and you
It
don't
does
like
not.
it.
Country is not a genre of music. It's noise that animals make. Like,
He's
I'm
in
not
this
going to
picture and he
argue
doesn't
about
Wow,
that.
I can't
It's
believe
done.
that this
It's
might be
over it.
characterized as bad faith.
It's
Yes.
not bad faith.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying though, is that like it is one of those things where and it bums me out because people, and again, it's not the end of the world. There are bigger issues than this, but like it truly sucks that like fighting games are my favorite thing on the planet. I like nothing more than playing fighting games with my friends. This is the first group of actual friends I've had in over a decade that I've been able to play fighting games with and have a good time and joke around and have a few beers on stream and play fighting games with them, because every single time I try to introduce them to my friends, they play 2 matches and go, this is too hard. It's impossible. Everyone was right. Fighting games are the hardest games ever. And I'm like, bro, I played 400 hours of Overwatch with you all. I'm not saying you all.
Yeah.
I'm saying like theoretically, like, motherfucker, I played Call of Duty just to spend time with you, and you won't even give me a day on fighting games because you think you need to be a sweaty no-lifer. You need to be Sonic Fox in order to pick them up. Like,
Imagine playing Call
come
of
on,
Duty.
dudes. You know, like, come
Cringe.
on. I'm just trying to have a good time. And so like,
Here's where
it
I
just
should
sucks.
mention
It's-
that our Discord is hosting a Street Fighter 6 tournament Saturday, August 5th at 11
You stole
a.m.
what I-
Pacific.
you stole what I was going to say, you motherfucker. I was building into it.
Ah.
But
Wait, why does it
So
say why does
irritated.
it say 11 a.m. on the top of it, but the description says 8 p.m. CEST? Isn't that Central?
Because it's
Central European.
Oh, okay.
Central European,
I was
yeah.
like, that should be like 2 hours
What-
apart, not like 12 hours.
What's the
going on?
CEST?
the world
time?
doesn't revolve around Americans, American.
I was trying to have your back. I was trying to increase fighting game saturation. I didn't know you had an
Yes.
end goal.
It's okay. I appreciate it. All I
I
was
didn't even
gonna
know
say
you
is,
knew
like,
about that tournament. I didn't know if you organized it or if
Yeah.
like Mona did.
me, Mona, and Joe have been organizing it. Yeah. But
I noticed it earlier today.
My whole point is people should be giving them a try and approaching them in good faith. And like, yeah, it's going to be hard. You're going to start the game and not know what buttons do, and you're going to feel stiff, and you're going to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to hate your controller, and that's true. But think about it this way. That's how I felt when I played Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like these games are not impossible to play. People play them. Everyone starts at 0. No one was born good at Street Fighter. You just have to learn how to play them. No one is born good at chess. You got to learn the rules. And the best way to learn the rules is to play and ask questions and have a good time and fool around and just like pick a character whose feet you like and then look at their toes when they kick people. That's what Bird did. Like, it's fun. It's a fun experience.
Outing him.
He plays
I'm seeing this as a personal challenge, not one that I will actually participate in or earn the outcome of, but it's my entire audience versus Toaster. Join my Discord, defeat Toaster in Street Fighter 6. Do not let him win the tournament at all costs.
Well, to be fair,
also you can go to youtube.com/toastedringtail to watch his ranked series and see somebody do the thing he just said, where his entire journey with learning Street Fighter 6 is on that, or some percentage of it so far is on it, and the rest is scheduled, and he does it on Twitch.
Yes. I do
Introductions.
Twitch,
Hi, I'm Keith.
VODs.
That's Toaster that's been talking. The person who talked about Overwatch for a long time was Colonel RPG. You can find him on Colonel RPG. And then Andrew's also here. Hi, Andrew.
But not my Overwatch in Colonel RPG.
People talking to me? Why?
I was trying to pivot to the introductions in like the first 2 minutes of the podcast, and then I just lost all control. I could not write the train.
Keith, you must let the train ride you.
It's what I on my AD maybe this is a family podcast. It's not. This is adults. This channel's made for adults, but not that adult.
Yeah.
No one needs to know about what I'm doing with trains.
My question about is it stressing or is it exhausting to play the game the whole afternoon?
It is
because I think there is a certain amount of designed passivity, I suppose. It's kind of complicated because it depends on your skill level, I suppose, but it also depends on what you want out of a shooter. It's easier for a shooter game to be comforting and relaxing than for I imagine. So that sort of that sort of difference is the difference I noticed, as an example, in Elden Ring, between some bosses where I was just going through the motions that I knew, and like my dodge timings and my weapon timings, and I enjoy that quite a lot. But it's sort of a brainless sort of going through the motions kind of thing, or my mental stack is not very challenged. Maybe the whole mental stack is where it's all at in terms of just how stressful something is.
I feel like I gave Colonel the Matrix pill, and now he's I'm seeing through the code. I understand video games now.
Yeah,
What do you mean? It's always been mental stack. Always has been. It's just it's truly that's a game design concept.
You'll quickly learn how other people approach video games and whether or not and how much people even take things seriously versus just hanging out. Because video games will often have this is the serious boys button and this is the relaxing button, but that doesn't mean people press them that way. So it's very informative to hang out with new people and see how they approach these things. I started playing Overwatch with Jericho, the developer of Remember the Flowers, and he was like, oh, this new Lifeweaver character, this guy seems neat, I'm gonna try learning Lifeweaver. We're just gonna have a hangout, chill Overwatch session where I practice Lifeweaver. I'm like, all right, let's do that. And then Jericho put us in ranked. Jericho put us in comp and is learning Lifeweaver and has exclusively, I think, played Lifeweaver in comp while not knowing how to play Lifeweaver, and just hops right in.
I've
watched his entire arc of him blowing Lifeweaver's life grip on cooldown at whoever's happening to stand in front of him at the time, including the tank, just every single time it comes up like it's a QTE, and then increasingly pissing people off, and then just yelling back at the people that yell at him, and then just playing ranked and just be like, fuck it, who cares? And I'm like, this is very different from how I approach this game.
I see a lot of people do that in my games. But yeah.
I don't regret quitting Overwatch. This sounds like only a great design decision.
I agree.
Designed- yeah.
My life has been significantly better since I stopped playing.
For me,
Today I
don't-
play. Yeah.
I don't
sorry.
particularly have much of a hate for fighting games. It's just that I personally do not get reward from winning fighting games like matches alone. It's not something that brings me joy, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I also don't
struggling.
get any joy. I don't get any joy out of most competitive based games, anyways. I mostly just enjoy. I genuinely just enjoy playing video games, but not. The moment things start getting serious, then I start dramatically losing fun in it. Where like I'm
One
just
of
thinking
the-
about like, okay, why do I care this much about a game? Is it actually important? No. Why am I investing time in being good at this game when it's not important? Why don't I just go
Yeah.
and play Planet Zoo instead and just smile all day? Like
I was
it
gonna
just like
say
that's
this,
the thing is like
it's funny because you get this reputation as being like the competitive guy in videos, in comments. People are like, Andrew's the Overwatch 2 no lifer in the group, like yada yada. But then like people don't realize if they watch your like most of your streams are you being like, man, Planet Zoo's so relaxing, so much fun. Oh, this is a good time. like your Kirby playthrough is just like this is really colorful and nice. I'm having a good time. It's funny that you have this reputation as being the competitive gamer.
It's because
but
he's
you
yelling.
hate competitive games.
Yeah.
He sounds like
nothing-
like the gamer boy because he's yelling the
I
entire
am-
time.
Yeah, I do get mad because competitive games turn into a thing of like, okay, now it's a skill check. Now I need to be every competitive based skill game is your fault when you lose. No matter if it's team based, no matter if it's solo, it's all your fault. You're bad at it. You don't know what you're doing. You need
That's
to
what
get
they
good.
tell you.
You need to invest time. No, it is. You're not losing a competitive match of Street Fighter because like someone else.
Street Fighter.
is-
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, or
I
no,
had it the
anything.
wrong way
Street
around.
Fighter, Counter Strike, doesn't matter what you're losing.
No,
You're
not
losing
Overwatch.
because someone else is like, oh, they know all the secrets or whatever. It's because you suck. You are awful at it,
Nah.
and you need to get way better if you want to win these matches. And that's fine. That's totally fine. That's how most competitive-based anything works. You show up. There are people who have dedicated too much time to it and are good at the game. And if you want to beat them, you're not just going to show up and do it. You're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to need to know how to play the game, get good at it, invest the time, and then at the end, have the reward of beating them, if that's so much as what you want. I don't want that. I care very little about beating somebody who's good at a game, and I care very little about being good at a game. I just want to smile the whole time I'm playing a game. That's it. That's my only goal. And like when we were playing Street Fighter, I don't mind playing Street Fighter because we're sitting, like Toaster said, we're just sitting there having a good time playing with each other, whatever. And even if I'm losing, I'm frustrated because I know I'm bad at the game. But as I am playing, I'm still learning. I'm getting better at it, things like that. And then when we after we had finished doing our little fights, I just did competitive for a round. We had fun doing that. And then as soon as they left, as soon as Keith and Bird left, I stopped playing. Because I don't care. I don't care at all about Street Fighter, like being the best at Street Fighter. I don't care about growing my rank. I just have fun hanging out and playing the game. And a competitive fighting game isn't all about being the best, right? You can just sit there, so you just pull it up and play for 30 minutes and practice in an arena. But I'm sitting there hanging out with my friends while I do that. And that's what's fun about Street Fighter to me. And that's why I like other games too. Like playing Kirby, I could just sit there and hang out and talk to stream because I'm not sitting there having to use every tiny millimeter left of what little brain cells I have to try and be good at a game while also being entertaining, while also trying to I could just sit there and be like, isn't this fun, guys? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
It's
There's a
hard
lot of competitive games are like that where you're not, your enjoyment is not dependent on how well you're doing. And I think Overwatch can be like that. I every once in a while
can't
there's
see it.
games. No,
I
it's
can't see that in
really
Overwatch.
on the
That's
other
why
spectrum.
I have to leave.
It's
That's
definitely on the
that's
other
how
side
Overwatch
of the
is to me all
spectrum.
the time. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go.
See,
I think-
I lost that like a while ago, and if I don't have that spark, it just turns into like my job. It's like I wake up, I go sit down and do a thing, and the whole time I'm doing it, I'm going like, well, maybe at the end I'll get to play something fun. Maybe I'll get some kind of joy if we win, and then we win, and I'm like, I wasn't
But
happy.
it doesn't. No.
Maybe next time we win, I'll be happy. Like,
I think quick. I've been playing quick play mostly because I'm trying to hang on to the fun of just playing, and not, not it being dependent on winning or losing. And I see that every once in a while, but it's not very common. But I think I compare the way you're describing fighting games and that in fighting games to the way I see that in racing games, because well, it depends as well on who you're racing, but like you're not going to beat Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton at racing games. You're not going to, you might be very good, but even if you were very good, you're still not going to beat the best racers in the world. So if the games were about becoming better, everybody would have a bad time or just not be enjoying. But people have so much fun, even like noob in and I'm saying racing games, but in real life racing as well. But like in the most basic starter like racing, because the side by side action of cars and stuff like that's the appeal, and yeah, I think the moment to moment is where it's always at, and I love that. I love the way you're describing your experience in Street Fighter, or I suppose fighting games. But yeah, the whole getting better and getting enjoyment out of getting better, I think relies exclusively upon you really enjoy the moment to moment.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't think fighting games are for everyone. I don't think any competitive game is for everyone. Like, that's sort of the beauty of like a competitive game, is that like, all right, like there's a different variation of these games for every single person. I like fighting games because like I can understand them on paper. I can play a match of Street Fighter with a notebook. Like if I just pass it back and forth between people, like I could do that very easily because like I understand the thought process and it's very fun for me to play through that. But if you ask me to play competitive Pokemon, like I'd be like, no thanks. I think it's interesting. I understand it. I've watched plenty of competitive Pokemon in my life. In fact, I think it's a really beautifully designed competitive game. But I don't like playing it. I'm not interested. It's whatever. I don't like Pokemon. Who cares? Like, same with Overwatch. Yeah. I think Overwatch at really high level is incredibly impressive. And I think that the way that the characters bounce off of each other and the way that teams work together is amazing. Like, all of my criticism of other competitive games does not come from a place of me wanting to be like, fighting games are better than them, people should play them. It's not that. In fact, I actually have a very huge respect for competitive games. I might even be the person in this room that cares the most about and likes just the concept of esports more than anyone else here. Like, I love competitive games. I think that they're very cool, and I want there to be an environment for them.
I've literally never watched any tournament to its entirety. Whenever I start watching any kind of esports match, I usually don't finish the match.
Yeah, I don't play Dota or League, but I watch Worlds and the International every year.
I mean, esports is ultimately, it is sports, and I don't like watching sports. It's just other people. Like, I'll watch a specific personality that's really super good at one specific character and like watch their like guides or see the particular way they play a match. Like, I like watching Yeatle play ball and being like, oh, it's really interesting seeing what that character can actually do, and potentially wanting to learn like kind of like fantasizing about being able to like pull off stuff like that, and like and experiencing what that character's up to. But like, just high level play of people going off and just a bunch of nameless people fighting other nameless people going at each other, and I'm like, I'm not in this match. My friends aren't in this match. It's like watching streamers. I'm like, I don't care about this at all. Literally don't care.
I like to watch scenes of really interesting matches, I guess. Like, I have watched a lot of Smash Brother fights, but only because I knew that there was something crazy happening in it. But without that idea, I was never invested enough. Even though like I played Smash religiously every day, it was still just, but I don't care what they're doing. That doesn't equate to me. Well, I mean, one, no one played Bowser Jr., but two, watching someone else be really good at a game is only good if I'm trying to learn from what they're doing. But if not, I don't see the value in it for me personally. But that's how I approach all sports. Like, I'm not going to watch football because I'm not playing football. I don't care about watching someone else play a game I'm not going to play. So, like, I treat it more as a learning experience than I do as, like, I'm rooting for these guys.
I'd rather play soccer than watch soccer.
Yeah. That's the mindset I have too.
I think for me, a lot of it is just an appreciation of even just the concept of high level play. Like, I find knowledge and execution and like the ability to understand and do cool things in a video game and like stress your mental stack and like do like explore that design space that every single competitive game uniquely offers. I just find it truly, the only word I can think of is beautiful. Like, I love how we have that now. And I mean, we've had it since the start of video gaming, but like, I mean, in a really structured way. And I think that's why I watch so much esports. It's just because it's like, I don't give a shit about Dota or League, but like, it's fucking cool to see people and like see how that game looks at high level, because it's like one of the purest expressions of what that game is. And I love that. I want to see more of that always. I think that's also why I don't. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say my own experience, but please finish. Sorry.
I was just going to say that's the reason why I don't really watch a lot of streamers play. And when I say streamers, I don't mean like high level streamers. I mean like when I'm bored, I don't go on Twitch just to watch like Joe No Name play, you know, bronze rank Overwatch. Like, that's not interesting to me because there's nothing neat about that. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna watch an iron player play Street Fighter in my spare time. Am I gonna go to a tournament and like watch a tournament set of pools? Fuck yeah, I will. Like, 'cause I want to see what rises to the top and what it looks like and what good Street Fighter looks like. That's all I'm saying.
And that makes sense. That totally makes sense why you would want to do that, because I did that for Overwatch too. Like, I liked watching people and seeing what high level Overwatch play is, because I won't get there. I know I'm not going to be in the top 500, so I would like to.
Yeah.
Like, no, like seriously, it's like you play a game a lot and you know the mechanics, you know everything about it, but you know you just don't have the skill to be at the literal 1%. So I want to see what people doing at the 1% are doing when they play this game that I know intimately, because it's very fun. You get to sit there and watch like, oh my god, I think this guy's going to try an ult from like the sky. And you know, like, you get to have those moments of like being excited and hyped with a player doing something that you totally get it. You have the bird's eye view. You go like, oh god, that Mercy's sitting there. She has no fucking idea. She's gonna get destroyed. And you just like watch it. That's fun. But that's where the fun ends, though, right? Is like, you need to be, for me, I need to be intimately aware with the game, and that is how I would get the joy out of it. But if like, yeah. So I get that. I totally get it. I would do the same thing.
I think a good commentator team makes up for not knowing the game. And obviously that's the same for any sports, but for esports in particular, like, as long as you're okay with sort of not knowing the specifics of what's going on, like, you don't need to know all the details that everybody else knows already, but if you can enjoy,
I would say that depends on the game, though. Some, like, Overwatch is a game that is almost nearly impossible to commentate on without someone having intimate knowledge, because you're just sitting there like,
no. I'm saying
the Reaper's
the
gonna
commentators.
Okay, so he's gonna take like high end because he's gonna be able to jump down and do an ult, and the ult has an AoE bubble, so it's going to be able to grab the entire team. Like, it's so hard to try and, like, a fighting game is easy, right? A fighting game is a fighting game is literally just two characters versing one another, doing moves at a set amount of speed. You can do much more manageable commentation on that, rather than like, I think 12 characters. It's ridiculous.
The commentators absolutely have to be on top of their game. That's always going to be the case. But my first esports experience was Starcraft 2. Actually, no, sorry, Starcraft 1. That just been a while. But Starcraft 2 was out already, and I saw, I don't remember. It was just a random game, and it was a pretty good game. Terrans versus Zergs. So the best at the time, best Zerg player. in the world, and I was just curious to hear, what do you mean the best Zerg player in the world? I'm new. I'm a baby esports viewer. I don't know any of this. So I looked it up and I saw a match on YouTube, 45 minutes, and it kept me hooked for the whole 45 minutes because the commentators were really good and explained like at least the basic possibilities of the match. And the fun thing about, I think probably Dota is kind of similar in that regard, and Overwatch is on the other side. But the fun thing about Starcraft is that there's a lot of slow-paced macro movement that commentators can just muse on for a couple of minutes before it actually comes to fruition, and it's really fun to watch as a viewer if you enjoy that sort of build-up. And I think that's the same thing you see in a lot of real-life sports as well. The problem with Overwatch is kind of the opposite.
You can't see it in Overwatch because Overwatch has too many characters and too many places and
it's
doing
so fast.
too many things. Yeah,
And
it's just, it was very funny to watch Overwatch League because you just sit there the whole time. You're like, man, I know what's going on, and this guy makes no sense. I can't imagine what a regular person's thinking. Just like, wow, pretty colors, a lot of sound. Like
Overwatch League, I think I think it is. So Overwatch League is a different thing from the World Cup, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I've watched a few Overwatch League games, and all of them that I watched, and maybe because of algorithmic boosting and all that, all of them I had a blast. It was just incredible. Really fun matches to watch because every player is at the top of their game, and the commentators were really good as well. The World Cup, on the other hand, I did not have the same experience because the premise of having players divided by countries means the teams are kind of uneven a lot of the time. And it's not that they're bad; it's just that it's just a lot of it is very one-sided, and it's not as fun. It's still kind of fun, but I didn't watch very much. Watching like even replays like Emong does a lot is commentate on like bronze or silver replays. I don't watch that kind of videos because that's what I play. It just frustrates me when I play. It frustrates me when I watch Emong commentating on it. It's just like, yeah, that Anna is letting her tank die in front of her and trying to kill the Genji who's distracting her. Yes, that I know. I see that happen as well. That's why I don't play tank. Even though I love tank is amazing. But it's just, it's. I think the problem with Overwatch in particular is that it's very fast. But I think I really like the slow build up of Starcraft and sim racing as well. Like in racing is a lot of the slow build up. There's a lot of dead time. I enjoy that, and in esports it's just more of that. It doesn't have to be physical sports to be that. But obviously, I'm not saying it's every person has their own preferences. Is what I'm saying. I'm not arguing for everybody to love esports.
I will say I do like watching speedruns. Speedruns are kind of fun.
I love speedruns.
I also don't like watching speedruns. I like
I
watching the videos that explain the history of the speedruns for a game.
I do like those.
I do not like watching a speedrun.
Now, speedrun again is similar to watching esports, where it's only for me it's only fun when I'm watching a game I know, because then I'm watching someone play a game that I am intimately familiar with in a way that is wholly alien and robotic almost. Where someone's just like, I'm going to hug this wall for 3 seconds and then do a backflip. I'm like, why the fuck would you? And then they're just gone. They just teleport into another part of the game. You're like, what? What happened to that guy? Like, it's a lot of fun to watch the way that some people approach a game, because it's so it's almost mathematical the way that they need to do specific actions and like go to specific places in specific times. But
I should remind you though, and remind the viewers, that speedruns have no glitch categories. If you don't enjoy the glitches, don't let that distract you from
you can
speedruns, because maybe you're gonna like
it. Speedrun in any way. You can speedrun any percent, no percent. You can do it glitches, glitch free. You could do it with tool assist, without tool assist. There's like a million categories. But the important thing is that, again, it's a lot of fun when you have that intimate knowledge and you can see, you can like feel a part of something because you have that knowledge. So when you see someone doing something, you're like, oh, that's cool. And I know why, like I know where he's going. I know what he's doing. I know what the goal is here, right? He's trying to skip this boss. I hate that boss. That boss would take a long time to beat. Like you can feel like someone's not just running through a game because they feel obligated to. They're doing it because they really genuinely enjoy the game and they want to be so good at this game that they like want to optimize it. It's fun. It's a lot of craziness. But I love
Keith
though
for that reason. It's just it's a space where like people are genuinely enthusiastic about stuff.
If only.
And I think the fact the sort of policing required of speedruns and the fact that it takes time investment to police and just enjoy other speedrunners means the communities tend to be very healthy. Because it's not like there are tools to detect if a speedrun is faked, but I have, like, from my outside perspective of watching speedruns, I get the impression that everybody's very chill a lot of the time, even if they're super sweaty while they're trying it. Although not all games are like that. Like there are some games that you need to be super sweaty to do a speedrun. And there's other games that are just like brute force attempts. And it's just like, I have a 0.01% chance that this playthrough is going to succeed. But if I pass through the 5-minute mark, then I have a 33% chance. So let's go. Probably by next week, I'm done. And it's like, there's a lot of games like that, including Dark Souls.
Yeah.
For Dark Souls 1 in particular. I think there's a common strategy of getting a silver sword or silver knight kind of sword from the Dark Root Basin that only spawns like 5%. And that's where the tool assist comes in, because there are tools that tell you when you start the game, if, in the case of Dark Souls, if that Silver Knight has that sword or he's going to spawn that sword. And so, obviously you have an enormous advantage in not having to go through the grind of RNG brute forcing. Like it takes 20 minutes to get to that part of the game anyway. So it's very time consuming.
Yeah. I just think speedruns are very interesting. Like one of the things that I really like about high level play is that it often reveals that the way people think about video games is not actually representative of what those games are. And speedruns are a really great example of this. And I don't even mean in terms
Classic
of
Resident Evil.
Yeah, I don't even mean this in terms of glitches. I just mean this in terms of like there will be people. Souls is honestly a wonderful example where people are like, "Oh man, like Souls is so hard. Like this boss attacks you, and if you hit a button at any time, they'll just immediately get 4 hits on you, and there's nothing you can do, and you have no time to beat it." And then you watch a speedrun, and the speedrunner explains their strategy, and they're like, this boss attacks, and every single attack takes 7 seconds. So if they miss this attack, you can hit them exactly 6 times because you have 7 seconds to react. Here's me doing this perfectly. It is reliable and consistent, and there is no trick to it. This is literally just objectively how this works. And like I love that sort of the not objectivity, but the concrete, tangible nature required to understand these games in order to play them at this level, because it also can teach strategies and teach the right mindset with which to approach games, even if you're not speedrunning. Like I have learned more about video games and more about how to play video games from like super high level competitive streams, even for games I'm not good at, like even for games I don't play, than I have playing those games in a lot of cases. And like, again, Souls is like a great example. Like it can be really easy to get overwhelmed in these games and buy into the perception that they're so hard, they're impossible, you just die in one hit. And then like I watch a speed run of someone playing at soul level 1 with no stats and not wearing any equipment, and then they're like, yeah, actually there isn't a single attack in the game that can kill you in one hit. It just doesn't exist. There isn't one. So you don't need to worry about that. You'll always get 2 hits at least. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Like
it's funny because
changes my perception of the game.
It's funny because that perception of Dark Souls has affected Dark Soul clones.
Yes.
And it works more for crappy Dark Soul clones, and I can't speak as a
Yes.
From my personal experience, much because I haven't played many of them. But it feels to me like a lot of Dark Souls clones are just like very, very punishing on the health department, whereas Dark Souls isn't. Although later Dark Souls start to be a little bit, but the first Dark Souls in particular isn't, and certainly not Demon Souls. I think.
Yeah.
Just look at the health bar, and it doesn't go down.
I don't know exactly the amount of instant kill attacks in Souls. I was using that as an example, but like
yeah.
I think there might be a few very fringe cases, but the big thing I think about is just like people perceive games far more hyperbolically than those games actually are. And I was talking to Bird about this when he was asking me about Street Fighter, because he was like, it seems like it's moving so fast. And I was like, yeah, as you get more experience and as you play the game, you'll realize that it's not as fast as it seems. Like things will go more slowly the more you play because you have more knowledge and you can actually analyze what's happening. And I really respect what high level play does for the understanding of a game, even at a low level, because it just helps to correct misconceptions, I think, about games. And it can definitely create misconceptions too when uninformed audiences are watching really high level players do stuff. But for the most part, like I think that there's always so much fun watching a game and having people be like, oh yeah, like it's so impossible. It's just you have to be so good in order to do it. And then like actually it was just a knowledge check and you just needed to know this one mechanic and it's not actually that complex. It is what it is. And granted, games can be very bad at communicating those things. So it doesn't mean that those people are wrong for having that hyperbolic feeling. I'm sure there's thousands of things in our Fear and Hunger playthrough that we either just missed or like didn't get right, that we were just wrong about. Like that's a no-brainer. But the question then becomes, how do you bridge and onboard people into that high level play mindset and how do you teach them that as they're playing? And that's where I think like competitive games really shine, is like when they're able to actually teach people how to play at that high level, you get a really interesting, really healthy and intelligent community behind them, compared to like, whatever random games are out there. And I'm not even talking about optimization. I'm talking about just like people who play Tekken know Tekken. Like they understand it. So when you say like Eddie Gordo is the best character, he can breakdance on you and kill you, and then like a high level player is like, actually Eddie Gordo is like a super low tier character who doesn't do enough damage and is really easily checked. Like it's not a matter of opinion. There's just one of those people in that group that is kind of wrong, but they're only wrong because their perception and their level of play is so low that they don't see the game for what it actually is.
Eddie Gordo. He is a torture character when you're just trying to experience the game.
Yes,
he is this breakdancing nightmare. Eddie Gordo and Gon are terrifying in Tekken 3 when you're just like, I picked up a game off the shelf. I'm going to play it now. That guy's a Beyblade. What the fuck? What is he doing?
Yeah.
I played a lot of Eddie Gordo. People hated it.
I played a lot of Eddie Gordo as well. That was basically my whole Tekken 3.
But I mostly played a whole
Eddie's cool. He's a cool character.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Guy.
Because I had no fundamentals. Never built them.
Never built them. That's all you got to do. If you ever want to get fighting games to try, build your fundamentals. Don't worry about doing 27 hit combos that look cool and end in super. Learn what your pokes are. Learn your anti-air.
And then once everyone's mastered fighting games, we're all going to pivot to Cloud Cuckoo Country's territory, because again, we'll please him next. He's always complaining that everyone is so afraid of RTSs and will never onboard to RTSs. Nope. So we're all going to get really into RTSs together next.
Nope.
You guys ready for this next step? I can't wait to be really good at Age of Empires.
I've spent my entire high school life doing RTSs. I will not go back.
Let's do it. Age of Empires 2. Let's go.
I have had Starcraft 1 installed on my computer for 20 years and I have never played it.
Let's all develop complicated emotional opinions about British units.
You should definitely play StarCraft 1. Like the you don't even need to learn the fundamentals. That's the fun part. Like you can just
My
brute
first
force your
RTS
way.
experience, actually, it might have been Age of Empires 2, but I have distinct memories of playing split-screen Starcraft with the expansion pack on the Nintendo 64 a lot. And you definitely don't have any kind of fundamentals. You are just like playing incredibly slowly and just building up a base and steamrolling because you can barely control the game. Maybe there's probably people who could control the game, but good luck like figuring out how to control the game well on a 64 controller when you're experiencing an RTS that's like only where you only get like 120 vertical pixels on your fucking split screen. Good luck.
I wonder, I'm gonna put a search term into YouTube right now, and I wonder if it's gonna give me any results. Competitive Starcraft 64. I wanna see.
You're gonna find out there's a bustling community right this moment. Big name.
Yeah, there
People watching it on
is
Twitch.
Starcraft 64 LAN tournaments.
Yes.
Yo.
This is
Check out that
buck
frame
wild.
lag.
That's
It's like being
How
a
do you-
Bubsy 3D speedrunner. You're just like, why did I do
Oh,
this to
man.
myself? Why did I
Oh,
do
that's
this?
wild. I wasn't expecting this.
Enjoy the viewership
awful
boost from
stream.
me, megastar YouTuber that mentioned this idea, Starcraft competitive scene.
StarCraft 64 competitive players hit the
Yeah.
biggest spike of playership ever after we mentioned it on a podcast. Viewed by 3,000 people. Oh man.
Let's
what
go.
a life.
I do kind of want to watch that now. That's unhinged.
It's
I would
wild.
be.
It's like watching people compete at Dark Souls with bananas. You're like, why are they doing
don't-
this?
yeah.
There are better
I've watched
options to
that.
do this.
I've watched a video about that, or of a person playing. I suppose it's not a video; it's the video, because
The banana guy,
the banana guy. Yeah.
Doctor the Banana Man, Dark Souls banana expert. I also can't watch those videos. I can't. Just like speedruns and esports, I also can't watch gimmick videos for more than like a few minutes. Like
You need to watch
like,
them at double speed.
It's like how it's cool to be. It's like how it's cool to be like, look at this tweet of like a video of that woman who like beat Elden Ring, where she was playing one copy of the game with her hands with a controller and another copy of the game with her feet on a DDR pad, and had to beat bosses on both versions of the game simultaneously. Like, I will watch the Twitter size video of her beating Elden Beast that way. I could never watch the run. Like, I could never deal with that. Like, my just watching people play video games that I don't, and where I don't know the people personally, my mind wanders within like a minute. Immediately I'm like, I don't care anymore.
That's
I immediately don't
Yeah.
care anymore.
I mean, I will see, like, we sent you videos about Street Fighter and you're like, I can't watch any of these. I immediately want to do
can't.
something else. And I'm like, part of me is like, one, okay, but the other part of me is like, you need to come to my place, and
It's
I
a
won't
genuine
look,
struggle
and you
where
can
you
take
sent.
my
I load up
Adderall.
these. I've loaded up multiple of these videos, and then I'm like, yeah, immediately I'm like, this is my brain hates watching this. I can't do this.
You just have, it's funny because Andrew and I both have ADHD,
Yeah.
and you have worse ADHD than we do.
It took.
and
It took. Like, I like folding ideas, but his video on NFTs was long and in a gray room, and it looked more interesting. It is now a video I enjoy and I've re-listened to multiple times, looping through. But the
Like a
once
good ADHD
once he
boy.
abandons the cool set, like the cool on-set location he does for the intro, and it becomes just this beige room, it's so hard to pay close attention to while being so technical and long form that it took me like 3 loops through the video to absorb it, basically. And now that it's like a familiar video, now that it's like a familiar video, it's like a fun video to rewatch. It's also very funny that like that video, my retention spikes the moment he starts talking about video games, like 40 minutes in or something.
That's yeah. I skipped,
Like
I
out of
always skip
nowhere, I'm
that
like,
part.
oh, now the subprime mortgage lanes. But the moment he started talking about it in video game terms, I'm like, oh, now I know what's happening.
Always skip
Yeah, you
that
definitely
part.
need to get diagnosed. That is the.
But it's
that is
hard.
not-
Yeah.
It's
That's
adult
not
society.
ideal.
Every time I hear anything about it, adult society doesn't want you to get diagnosed. They like fight you when you try.
Well, yeah, of course, because they're giving you drugs that would not be good for you if you were not diagnosed. They would be dangerous
Yes.
for you.
You know, my
For me,
my personal
diagnosis experience
strategy
was
to getting
pretty
script
simple.
writing done this week was that I turn off my monitors on my computer and I set up my little wireless keyboard for my iPad, and I turn off all the lights in my room except for my purple light, so it's just like low light, and like the only like display available is my iPad. And using phones and iPads and so on is so annoying to me for anything other than just typing that it's too irritating to like multitask and pivot to something else and get off topic. And so I'm just sitting there in a dark room looking at night mode Google documents and just typing away at my script. And I got a decent amount of work done that way, which was the equivalent of that, of like how I was like, wow, I got a lot of work done when I was stuck on the plane to and from PAX and MFF on my scripts. Like I desperately, I'm very aware of the fact that like I need to be isolated and escape from how distracting like social media is and Discord and all these things that are trying to fight for my attention. But I also don't have a house to myself and can't leave the room that stuff's in to work on stuff, because every other room in this building is also more distracting than that. Like if I go downstairs, there are 3 dogs and 2 people with computers and a TV. And there's a high chance that they are talking on Discord, which makes it impossible for me to think about words on my own. I can only think about the conversation they're having that I'm being forced to listen to. And also the dogs are fucking with me, and like, or if they're running to like, or if they're like listening, they're like playing a game or like watching a movie. That's just my brain. I have to pay attention to the media that's playing in the room. Like I can't compartmentalize. Like if somebody, like there's times like, oh yeah, you guys keep watching that, I'm just gonna go play video games now, and then like we'll be watching a show together, and then one of us will just leave to go play video games and start talking with their friends on Discord in the same room, and I'm like, I can't, I'm done, I'm just gonna leave. Like this you effectively canceled the thing we were watching. You did not quietly leave, and then we get to keep going without you. Like I literally cannot watch the show because you're talking over there and I can hear you. Like I couldn't study in libraries in college because there was always some kind of distraction, because there's always somebody talking or doing something in the library close enough that you can like pick up on it. Like I cannot deal with that.
So yeah, you should always,
yeah.
if you feel like this at a constant basis, go tell your doctor that, and they will try to help you hopefully not suffer from that problem, because that's not
I have a lot of unread
how
mail.
your brain should work.
I haven't met my doctor yet.
I feel like you need to literally build a Faraday box in the backyard and just go put all of your most important things. Yeah, a box. Faraday box. Don't make it a cage, because you can see through a cage. You need to make it a box.
I don't think a Faraday cage is hollow. I mean, is open.
I don't think a cage implies that it could be open. But a box is something solid all the way through. It needs to be a fucking crate, Faraday crate, and just put all the things that matter the most to you in there. And then that way, when you go in there, you could focus on the things you need to do.
You just need a shed with like a chair and a desk in it, and like maybe a radio. Like that's all you need. It's fine.
Yeah.
Get a bunker for your backyard.
A struggle with a lot of Street Fighter content is that I can't multitask while it's playing. Like I have to just sit there and watch it, because if I'm like, I was like, I'm shopping, I'll load up one of Toaster's videos, and then I'm like, this is without visuals, this doesn't work at all. I have no idea what the fuck they're saying.
Really pay attention.
You have to watch it.
But then after you watch it, I'm like, I don't like watching Street Fighter. Like this, I guess maybe like on some level, maybe it's just I just don't like Street Fighter much, I guess. But like I don't really like watching it. It's not satisfying. I don't like get there's not like a it's not like it's not like a there's like elements of shooters and what I'm like, oh damn, look at what he pulled off. But like in Street Fighter, I'm like, yeah, they're hitting each other a lot. That guy won. That it feels a bit like watching a superhero fight, where in the middle / early eras of superhero movies, the big dumb fight at the end was often like the most boring part of the movie because it was just a bunch of hits that seemingly didn't matter until suddenly one of them mattered, and then I guess the movie he won. The movie's over, and you're like, what the fuck? Why did that? How do you tell the stakes of this fight? It's not obviously not exactly like that, because in Street Fighter you literally have a health bar and you see who's winning. There's a time count going down and like health bars and everything, but I have so little understanding of what the hits mean and what they're doing moment to moment that like I can't follow it and correlate it. And like when Toaster or even these videos talk about the overarching concepts of these of fighting games, I actually follow basically all of that. But I cannot connect the things that people are saying to the buttons and visuals of the game in a practical way. Like there's a disconnect there where like because I've heard people talk about fighting games for an eternity, and I've paid complete attention. Like I understand a decent amount of fighting games, even if I'm bad at like the terminology and stuff. Like I understand like a lot of what you're going for in these games technically, but I can't turn that into gameplay in any meaningful way, and I can't bridge that gap really, because I'm not like sitting here being like anti-intellectual about the thing. I'm like, fighting games, whatever. It's like I literally played DOA 4 for a year, but I played it just intuitively. I just played it for fun, and I got better over time, and I kind of just like, you just kind of get trained by successes and failures to behave differently over time. And I cannot intuitively pick up Street Fighter, and in a way similar to to sports and whatnot, it's very difficult for me to watch any kind of Street Fighter footage, because like even earlier, like you can't even hack me with like the personalities I like. Please Stop Talking, which is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. They went up with like Wooly Versus and some other people and did a Street Fighter tournament, and that video went up today. I was watching it before this podcast. I quickly lost my ability to follow it. Like I can't. It's just not. I cannot focus on it, and it's not interesting to focus on when I'm not playing myself. But then when I'm playing myself, I have no idea what to do. Like I cannot form a plan. I can't read the inputs, or I don't know when the frame is I'm supposed to respond, or when to press buttons, or how. Like it doesn't. There's not enough connection between me and the game, like giving me like clear enough feedback of like how my character works and how my controls are interacting with it. It's like why I keep descending into button mashing over and over again. Like I'm not literally mashing random buttons. I'm usually like, I try to quarter circle punch, and then nothing happens, and then I start quarter circle punching faster and faster, and I'm just trying to do it. Like I'm trying to get it out, and then the guy's wailing on me, and I'm just trying to like, why did my character never responds? It's like it starts to feel like I'm playing like QWOP or Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy or other games, or Surgeon Simulator, which are all games that like from the outside seemed amusing, but the moment my hands were on any of those games, I was pissed. Like I was.
Bennett, oh man,
I was sincerely.
Getting Over It is my zen game. I play that game when I'm stressed to relax.
Like Andrew was there when we fired up Bennett Foddy as like a laugh. Like this will be a funny game to hang out with. I was done so fast. Like I was so immediately pissed at just the separation, like the gap between my intent and the actions of the character were so deeply frustrating that I immediately didn't want to touch it anymore. Like it's repulsive to me, that game. And like it's cool. I'll watch videos about it. I'll watch people hang out and play it, and it's like, and I'll watch the tragedies of them falling and whatnot. I never want to touch Bennett Foddy again. You have to like hold a charity gun to my head and be like, "This is for the cancer kids, Keith. You have to play Bennett Foddy now if you ever want me to play Bennett Foddy again."
It's just funny because like, but the thing is that you say like there's a gap between your intentionality and what your character's doing and stuff like that. But like, I actually think that game has part of the reason why it feels weird is because it has such a high amount of control fidelity. And like once you just understand how to control your character, it actually becomes really easy and it's really relaxing. And like that's kind of also part of the message of the game. So now like I played Bennett Foddy. I think my first run took me like an hour or two to get through the whole game. Now I can beat it in like 3 minutes. Like it's so relaxing.
Cursed.
I took 4 hours to get to like halfway, and I thought I was close. No, I was not. And then my carpal tunnel gave up, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I have that game on my phone because I sometimes just like if I'm having like a stressful day and I'm like in the car, I will just play it. I'll just play it on my phone.
I didn't even know
like,
it was on
I find
phones.
that game so centering because like the whole point of it is like you'll lose progress, but it's okay. Just enjoy it. You liked playing the game, so now you get to play the game again. It's nice. Trash is meaningful. And then I'm like, oh wow, this like calms my heart. It makes me feel so at peace with the world. Like, that game truly like quells my existential horror at being a person. I love it so much.
It has a downside though, which is the narration, which is I found so pretentious. It's just so over the top. Like, no.
It is over the top. It's very maximalist. This is perhaps the one super maximalist game that I really like. It's just because it's like, oh, he is right. I did fall all the way down, but that means that I can experience the joy of climbing all the way up again. It's just so it speaks directly to my soul. I love it so much. I think if you asked me what my top 10 video games were of all time, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy would be on that list. Like, I don't know exactly where it would be, but it would be on that list.
That's high praise.
I bought that game thinking it would be a silly meme game and instead got a genuinely impactful art game that has helped me cope with the world, which I think is very nice.
My favorite video game is probably Rock Band 3. It's just an incomprehensible sentence.
I like that game.
I poured ungodly amounts of hours and money into that game. I had 1,000, well over it by the end probably. I passed 1,000 songs. I remember my 1,000th Rock Band song was American Music by... Fuck.
That's a nice band.
Oh yeah.
Violent Femmes.
They're probably higher for you.
I used to write a newsletter about Rock Band. Not really a newsletter. I used to do a weekly forum post about Rock Band, about the Rock Band network. It's
That's like a newsletter. I've seen worse
I tracked the weekly releases of the community songs because you could put your own songs in the game if you had the license for it and put all the work into like chart all the tracks, which is 4 instruments across 4 difficulties. You could put it in the game and sell it with the rights and everything. And I kept track of all of them every week and highlighted which ones would be most interesting for each instrument, what their prices were, and story links and all that, and just like did a whole thing for a little forum, culminating in when Rock Band Aid did their. When Rock Band Network 1.0 was ending and 2.0 was coming out, Rock Band Aid, I got to do an article on their site that was like I polled a bunch of different like staff members of Harmonix and different people from the community, and mathematically through ranked choice voting determined that these are the best songs in all of Rock Band Network 1.0 and so on. And that was a thing until I was a YouTuber. That was the most viewed thing that I'd ever done on the internet.
Trying to think what my favorite game is, and I think it's still just Pathologic 2, but yeah, Bennett Foddy, Getting Over It. That's up there. It's one of them for sure.
I think for me it was Super Mario World, and that's when video games peaked. They never got better. They just kept going downhill.
But it's ugly. Look at the graphics.
No, that you're looking at it the wrong way.
But it's
Everything- the
ugly.
more-
Look at the graphics.
the more simple the game is, the more heart and passion it has.
No,
in it.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
The more
yeah.
realistic a game looks, the more soulless it is. Don't even buy realistic games. You don't need realism. That's the whole reason you have video games, because the real world sucks. You don't play them because it's fun outside.
I learned that lesson with the original Far Cry. Not that I disliked the way it looked, but that it was very, very meh in terms of art direction, because it was just trying to be realistic.
I mean, the cursed thing is that my real favorite game might be Overwatch.
I will say that Overwatch is my favorite competitive first-person shooter game, even though I will never play it again.
I agree.
I will never play another. I will never play another competitive first-person shooter game.
That's
I've
fair.
literally tried. I have tried
Well,
7 of these
Valorant's
Overwatch
off, guys.
Yeah, it is. I've tried 7 of these different fucking Overwatch wannabe games, and I cannot stress enough how fucking ugly they are. I don't want to play these
Valorant's
characters.
not ugly.
They are all.
Valorant's,
Yes, they are.
I mean,
all
Valorant's just
fucking
not like
boring.
Overwatch. It's a tactical shooter.
they're-
That's
Yeah,
that's the point against it. If it was more like Overwatch, I'd be more interested. But tactical shooters just
yeah,
hurt my
I
brain.
don't want to play a tactical shooter, but like every goddamn character in Overwatch is memorable. You can look at them and go, "Oh yeah, that's that character."
The most
But
direct
then when
comparison
I play any
is,
other
is
game,
Paladins, which impressively, like all other discussion of Paladins aside, Paladins looks like a mobile game. That's the best way I can put it. It looks like every time you see like some sort of ad for like, I don't know, Hero Forge or whatever. No, that's the D&D figurine thing. Here, I don't know, Clash Royale or something. Clash of Clans, something like that. Battle of Men. You know what I mean? These interchangeable, fucking incomprehensible mobile ads for games that just have like, I'm fantasy dude in generic armor. I look like one of the 75 games that have all recreated Anduin Rin from World of Warcraft somehow.
Yeah.
Like you look at fucking Paladins and you're like, even the weirder characters are painfully generic somehow. There's just a weird lack of character and personality to their designs. Like, as a furry, these are not good character designs. Like, these do not look like they're somebody's favorite little man. They look like Ratchet and Clank. We took Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank and put him in our game, but with less personality than Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. Here he's called Pip now. Like, they're incredibly like, all of the characters in that game look like arched archetypes of other characters from other games with all of their details and personality sanded off and nothing given in to replace it. And astonishingly, like, entire maps in that game do not look like they were made for a shooter. There's maps and Paladins that just look like, why are we in Goldshire from World of Warcraft? With
because
similar,
it was a MOBA
with
game.
with even like similar spacing, like this massively open environment that's very space inefficient, doesn't have a lot of cover. All the walls are super far from each other, and like there's no flow to the level. It doesn't feel like a shooter map. Like, it's I'm sure that Paladins has a lot of depth and so on because people keep arguing for it and so on. I'm sure it's neat or whatever, but like, it's so aesthetically off-putting immediately in a way that it's like it's really hard to it really highlights how full of personality Overwatch is, even compared to other Blizzard titles. Like, Overwatch is so immediately charismatic in a way that few games manage, and usually if they do manage it, they're a fighting game.
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure what my favorite shooter, like competitive shooter, would even be. I mean, I guess other than Overwatch, like, I mean, I really liked Halo 3 back in the day. That was fun. Or like Time Splitters. Time Splitters 2 is a great game. I don't know if I would call that a competitive shooter though. I liked Quake. I played a lot of Quake online when I was like 10.
Quake was fun.
I like Quake. What was it? What's the thing now? What's it called? Quake Champions. I'm sure that's
Quake
cool.
Champions.
I like
I
Unreal
assume you played
Tournament.
Quake 3.
I think the level
I
design in Quake
I played
Champions
a lot of Quake 3
is
back in the day. Yeah.
is suffering, but otherwise it's fine.
Yeah, Unreal Tournament. I liked Unreal Tournament too.
Unreal Tournament was fun. I liked 2000. 2000 was good.
Yeah, Unreal Tournament
2000 was
2000.
pretty
That's
good.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like boomer shooters. So like, the more
Yeah,
complex
I do too,
a
yeah.
shooter gets, like the less I like it. I think it's like I just want to like point and click and rocket jump and do deathmatch and capture the flag.
Yes,
and,
that
like,
is
that's good.
that.
Like, that's cool by me.
I like Halo.
That was
a lot.
my main complaint about the new Wolfenstein and Diablos was like, this is too much stuff. Make it simple. Go back to what it was. I don't want to do like hook shots and double jumps and fucking dumb shit. Make me just shoot gun. Move forward, shoot gun. Guy,
I want to
shoot
move.
gun.
I want to zoom
Like-
around the map really quickly just by holding W and ASD. And I want to shoot. I want hit scan. Like that's what I want.
That's it.
Projectile is nice
my-
as well.
The only thing I wanted updated from Doom to new
It's okay.
graphic Doom was just making it so the camera moved for free. Like I hated the weird crappy like you don't have to aim, just be looking in their general direction and you'll hit them. No, I want to be able to like headshot all these people. That's what I wanted.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise I don't.
because Doom doesn't have mouse look.
Yeah, it doesn't have mouse look. So just like all I wanted was Doom, but with like way better graphics and mouse look. And then it was like, what about RPG? I was like, you've now you fucked it. You ruined it. You sullied the whole
What if
thing.
the entire world is full of
any of that.
secrets, but also we told you about them? So it kind of just becomes this chore of scrolling a weird hologram around very slowly and trying to spin it because the map's way too big. Trying to figure out which. There's like a floating thing. There's a thing floating off the map, and one of the nearby parts of the world might let you go there, just barely. But you got to check 7 unrelated hallways to see which one might have the vent that lets you get to that weird floating green thing. And I'm like, all right, well,
yeah,
I guess you can put this in your game.
I don't want that. I just wanted to shoot. But yeah, I think it's very important to create if you're making an online game. The 2 most important things are you need to make sure the characters are memorable, but also consistently looking. So that way, like, I know where a Reinhardt is at any given point in time. It doesn't matter if he's a skeleton Reinhardt or a tree Reinhardt. I know it's Reinhardt because he looks so different than anybody else. I cannot mix the 2 up. Or
the silhouettes
two,
are good. Yeah.
Yes, and you need those characters to be interesting, like not just visually, but like interesting. They say things that make you laugh, or they act in ways that are interesting to you.
That's why Symmetra walks like that.
Yeah,
that's why she walks so weird, and that's why Anna has back problems.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
also
so
it was a problem when they added Kiriko because everyone was used to seeing Baby Diva, and when they saw Kiriko, it read as Baby Diva. Like they failed at making silhouettes that didn't read as each other when they usually were good at that. Like Sombra has that super specific stance with her SMG. She just stands weird all the time, so that you can tell her apart from people.
She's almost standing like she's about to jump on you.
Yeah, there's a different pose and walking animation to every female character because you have to try to make people that have almost the same body type not look like the same character.
The male characters
and they did a good job for a long time.
The male characters also have distinct poses, like a soldier.
Yeah, but the men are often
most of the males have
different,
distinct
though.
bodies. Yeah,
but yes, like Genji, Soldier, Reaper, and McCree all stand completely differently from each other, despite being approximately the same shape. Characters.
McCree in particular is the wildest.
Yeah,
I don't play him mostly because the way he stands.
Like it's there's a lot of detail put into being able to read the characters apart from each other, and Overwatch is an incredibly impressive game. It is an astonishing thing. Like the amount of clever shit that goes into it. Like you can watch like New Frame Plus videos that just go into like the sheer amount of work that goes into expressing the characters' personalities through their reload animations and so on. Like there's a lot of love into that thing, and then unfortunately it's in a corporate setting, so evil people are trying to burn it down in order to extract resources from it, like the early game of a fucking RTS.
Yep.
But anyway, I think we're done here. Probably, I think it's been time to wrap this up and let people use the restroom and whatnot. Send your questions to dialoguechoicespodcast@gmail.com, or we won't answer them because we don't have them.
That's the stakes.
That's
See you guys next
we
time.
will-
Join our Street Fighter tournament at our Discord. You
Yes.
can find the link in
If
the
Toaster
description.
wins,
it will
I
be
swear to
fun.
God,
Toaster's
I will-
not gonna
I'll be
win.
there.
Joe will probably win.
personally
but
defeat
that's
Toaster
true.
at all costs.
No, Joe's gonna win if he's gonna do modern Rashid. We'll just watch like 27 matches of him.
Play
Bye,
Street Fighter with us. It will
everybody.
be fun.
3, 2, 1,
Yes.
bye.
Um,